All right. What's up, brother?
Living the dream.
The dream we are
Apparently, that's
living.
the quote that I'm allowed to say now in these things. Heard Silas and somebody else was saying that the other day. Spielberg.
Why? Wait, what, you were doing a live with them and you said that?
Oh, we were just talking and we did record it just in Discord, but
I miss Zeal, man. How's Zeal doing? I haven't talked to him in forever.
good. Even when I do talk to them, no, they're very quick. We haven't got too much conversation going lately, but he's doing Zeal. You know how Zeal.
Yeah, I know. He's always like, always a man of mystery, never really fully around. But I mean, neither am I. So like, not that I'm easier probably to get a hold of even than Zeal, which is funny. Is he still in the Discord with y'all?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Discord just gets too crazy for me, man. I can't. Too many people. Wait, Silas has joined us. Look at this. Look at this son of a bitch. We're gonna add him. Wow. Wow.
Okay.
Look who's here.
What do you call that? Fashionably late?
Fashionably late. Can you hear us, Silas?
Hello?
Okay. Oh, wow. Look who's here. How you doing, brother?
Yeah, not bad. How's you all?
Good, man. Good. What time is it out there?
Just turned 7.
7 in the morning, right?
Yeah, 7 in the morning, yeah.
Jesus Christ, dude. You're insane. That's early.
I know it is. It's fairly early, aye. I've not had my coffee yet, so I may be a little, you know, a little drowsy or whatever.
Well, get that pep in your step so you and Regan can break down the fire and ice ritual that they're completing out here in Los Angeles right now with the ice raids.
Oh, yes, the ice raids, yeah. Well, that's what Kabbalah always stated within the Zohar too, that, in fact, every eschatology states it, that within every age you'll have, it usually begins with ice, and then it ends with fire, but it can be, vice versa. Yeah, or
And
water,
I guess
ice or water.
this would kind of be this would be reversed, wouldn't it? Because when were the fires? Were they they were 2025, right?
No, they were last year.
They were 2024.
Mm-hmm.
Wait.
Did fire
really?
first. Well, and 23, I think, is more Lahaina.
Well, yeah, but the bad ones here were that long ago now? I thought they were in like January.
Year.
No, weren't they in January?
I thought it was last fall. They ended in January.
When the hell? Wow, I can't believe I'm forgetting at this point. Because it was during the time, it was like I remember it was the 100th and, what was it, 107th or 108th year anniversary of the Alamantra workings by Crowley, because that was something I think me and Silas even talked about, and I talked about it with Gabe too. Fuck. What was it?
Yeah, it's been that long.
That's insane that it's been that long. So I guess we are starting this year with ice at least.
Well, in the fiscal year and the Roman calendar year and all these other years have different New Years.
Yeah, that's true. It does actually, and it does say the fire started January 7th, 2025, like the Palisades fire. So January 7th to the 31st, they have it listed on Wiki.
So it was 25 that they.
Yeah, so it was 25. I knew it was after Christmas because I thought it would have been weird if it was before.
Yeah, I'm taking into account all these other, because you had everything in Australia, you had North Carolina. Fires were all in the fall of 24. So there's a lot of these events that are popping up in mass. It's like, this is all stuff that happens every year, but now it's just being like mass propagated through media, right?
Exactly, and the ones out here just were super sketchy.
Yeah, that's the whole thing about it. Anything that's put on TV, well, now there's all these other weird stories around it where, just like with the train derailments and
Yeah,
planes falling out of the skies and all these different things. These are things that already happen on a yearly basis. They're just not
and I
reported
know there've been
out.
tons of
They're
exactly, and there's been
not
a
blown up
tons
in
of
the
occult
media.
connections with the names of places and stuff like that. Even and then the freaking fire chief out here with the last name, what was her name, Christ Crowley or Crowley, Christian Crowley or something
Yeah.
like that. What the what? Just insane. But what do you have up for us right now so you can explain this? I know you have. Oh, did Silas get bounced out?
Yeah, I don't know.
I just
Oh, now
added
he's
him
back
back.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah, this diagram. This is one of the more recent ones. That's why it was kind of nice because I don't look at all these. I kind of go through and download many of them, and then I go through them later or wait until something like this comes up. So it's like with this one, right? It's in my last, whatever, 20, 30 images here. And I got a bunch of other ones very related, at least symbolically, like the squares and triangles and stuff. But I thought this one looked cool because I've kind of put this together myself in my own little drawings and things, but I don't I don't keep a lot of things personally. I actually try to like have the most, right. I would be almost the opposite of Silas, where I don't have a ton of notes, right? Like I'm sitting here at a blank desk. It's just my computer in front of me. I only start pulling up stuff usually when people ask, or if it's like, you know,
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. I probably should take a little bit more of notes than anything, but I don't because sometimes I just
well, I want to rely on my memory.
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
want to like have to be like, oh yeah, I put that in my green notebook on the third page. I don't.
I
That
know,
sounds
I
more
know.
complicating.
My thing is like there's just so much. There's so much with this occult symbolism that you have to remember sometimes that it's like I like just even like having something like this on hand is helpful.
Yeah.
Because it's like when we're reading so much stuff half the time that I can't remember even these. I can't remember the alchemical symbol for every element off the top of my head all the time. It's just it's never gonna happen. That's why sometimes it's like maybe it'll happen if I really work at it, but I guess bigger things to focus on sometimes. So it's just nice having these things.
And that's why I really like these really simple graphics like this that just they pop up. Pinterest is linked to your email, and so anything you look on Pinterest, they send you like you may like this with
Yeah,
2030
yeah, yeah,
pics.
yeah.
And that's how it all started with this particular folder I made. Like I have a couple other folders and documents and stuff, but this whole symbols folder thing and the video I did on that, like that's what that was spawned out of was um this symbols folder that was put together primarily through Pinterest. But then like that's just how it started. Then I started like looking, I was taking stuff from other websites and looking into other things and books, and then I was just finding it on Pinterest easier. So I stopped going to like the main source because everyone's already taking these main source photos and putting them up on Instagram, Pinterest, and all these other things anyways. So I like trick the feed, right? I mean, everything's just a bunch of algorithms when it comes to these search engines.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
just, and by tricking it, it's not very advanced. Anyone can trick their own feed. You just start typing in what you want it to start searching for all the time. And I mean, if you really think there's an advanced AI, which we talked about that in the last chat, right?
Mm.
You got something watching you, it's still going to see patterns and recognition. So it's like, I would just log into Pinterest like 6 different times a day that were like equally spread out throughout the day somewhat. Search for occult this or esoteric that.
And right after you do that a few times, Pinterest is just going to keep filling it up, like easily. Like unlike YouTube, which is a piece of oh, I shouldn't even say shit about YouTube right now since we're on YouTube. But they're just let's just say their algorithms more unpredictable and will just give you random stuff sometimes. Like I've been finding it's been throwing me all over the place.
I shut mine off. I've had YouTube search thing off for a little over a year now. When I open up YouTube, it is a black screen with a search bar that looks like Google.
So do you shut it off just by not signing in?
No, I'm signed in. You can go into all your settings and
Say
shut all that stuff off. Yeah.
Really?
I don't get any recommendations. I don't want them to, if I watch a video, I just want the content that's filtered from that video to be related to it. I don't want you to take me on tangents. You can isolate and filter all that stuff in your YouTube settings.
I might have actually already did that too, because I don't even have them track my watch history, but I still get random stuff, like random stuff related to, I guess, what I watched that day. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I mean, where it's almost like just the pure, if I do log into YouTube and watch something, it might give me some recommendations from that, just like Pinterest does.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I'm seeing too. It
Right.
just it for some reason just mine will still be all over the place some days, and
Well, if you don't get on it for a while, that's what happens to me as well.
Yeah.
So it's like you've been gone for a week, you come back, you're almost like a fresh. They're just like, here's everything that's sponsored, you know.
Yeah, it doesn't help me either that my dad will go on my YouTube on his Apple TV and he'll start watching like Fox News and stuff like that.
My dad and my accounts are linked up, so a lot of our streaming stuff, like it's all my girl watches a bunch of things, and then my dad will call me and be like, why are you watching all these chick flicks? And
yeah, exactly.
Not me. It's it's just on our stuff, you know. She's home all day. I'm at work.
Exactly. So, Silas, are you back? You good?
Yes, I'm tentatively good, but I may get ousted again because my internet connection's not very good here.
No problem, brother. And you just keep hopping back in. I'll keep popping you back on.
Yeah.
Regan, do you want to explain this to the people who will watch eventually? Since I know no one's probably watching right now since it's so late.
This picture.
Yeah.
I mean, like a lot of people, I'm sure, see stuff like this regularly if they are in these circles and things, right? I guess what I liked about it the most, though, was the simplicity, right? Where it's just like, here's 4 elements in a square. It's got your 4 seasons. The color coordination is pretty on point for the most part. I think air typically can be different things. Gold works though. Yeah, and then just like
it's interesting having the rune up there for the what is that, the
winter solstice?
Yeah, the winter solstice rune. It's like the broken cross, right? What is that?
That's
what is that called?
Peace sign. I mean,
yeah, it's the inverted peace sign, right? Because usually it's upside down.
Yeah. Which is like these are components of each other, right? So it's like in the center you have the 4 triangles, and then 2 of the triangles have the line through it for earth and air. Both have their line through. So when you look at all the common symbols, like the broken rune, the V for, spring, and the orange X and the black, trifold thing there, it's all the components of those 4 triangles in the center to some extent being put or remashed together in different ways, right?
Yeah.
And that's how the colors work, right? Red and blue make purple. So you have your fire to water, or your warm and dry to cool and moist. Like those 2 combined make your purple, moist, your spring. We're going into spring right now. So a lot of this fire and ice talk, or fire and water, that's typically the 2 you see. That's all Marvel ever talked about in their entire franchise, right? It was red versus blue. Captain America versus Iron Man. That's.
And it's so interesting now looking at like all the. I just went to like the news on DuckDuckGo, the news tab, and it's everything. Every headline is talking about the ice raids, but all the images are of fire. It's really fascinating, actually, to look at.
And it's been in there for how long? I mean, that's all the Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
That's the entire series. The song, right? The scores. It's A Song of Fire and Ice is like one of the main scores of the whole thing. It's one of the last episodes of the series. It's I'm pretty sure it's the last book. If I'm not
that's what the literary series is called, is it not? A Song of Ice and
Yeah.
Fire.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting too that so like what is the other thing that was coming up? This guy Spitzer, and then Trump was mentioning how the protesters are going to spit and we're going to hit.
Oh boy. It's all the rhyme time stuff.
Yeah,
I was actually going to write about this in Discord, but I did want to put it in audio at some point, just because it's like it's very hard to explain. So
there's something else too that connects to what me and you would always used to do this. Like I would say something and you would send on the Gilded server, on Silas's Gilded server, you'd send like a South Park episode that matched to what I was saying. And literally, I think right now, or at least 10 hours ago, there's a video here on one of the news articles saying emergency protest draws hundreds to South Park in opposition of ice raids.
Nice.
And everyone's waving Palestinian flags. This is nutty, man. I mean, you got half the colors in the Palestinian flags on your diagram here too.
Well, it's like how hard is this now? You know, even during the lockdowns, I was trying to figure this out with other people in certain discussions where it was like the trucker protest, the other protest in Washington, all the shit in Seattle, Washington State. And like you're saying right now, they got this protest with all these people waving whatever flags, walking through town. Ice raids are going on. How hard do you think it would be in the last 10 years to formulate one of these protests or raids or something? Like, given that any given person, any average day lay person like ourselves or anyone else, how hard do you think it really would be with like PayPal, Venmo, WhatsApp, all these other services to transfer money and all that kind of stuff? You start sending messages to people going, "Hey, go be at this square at this time," which they used to do in New York, right?
I feel like everyone should know at this point that none of this stuff is fully grassroots. Everything is being influenced hardcore by there's agents in these groups.
You're not getting out of your house and going to that protest as a free-willing citizen to go protest as your God-given right within the country confines, et cetera, you're going to believe that all these other people are running out there and waving their home country flags in another country and doing all this stuff, as Silas says. Like, that's it's like him going to Brazil and telling them, you know, it's a disgrace. I came here and learned your language. You should learn mine, and I'm going to wave my flag around, but then get pissed at you if you try to deport me back to my country because I'm afraid they're going to kill me.
Yeah.
You know, like,
and I don't even, that's
bought and paid for. I don't see any other way it would have been a possibility if it wasn't bought and paid for.
It absolutely is. I remember even back in the day back in 2020 or 2021 when all the BLM stuff was starting, like there were flyers that were being passed around the internet telling people what to bring, where to go, what type of like weapons or like combat type of like, not weapons necessarily, but like what was okay to have on your person if you were going to try to defend yourself. Exactly.
Not a weapon. Yeah.
Exactly, that type of stuff. And then today, when I was watching that live stream really fast, like right before I was like, let's hop on a live stream ourselves, I was watching the one on ABC. They were interviewing a guy who I was like, immediately I saw him, you know what the guys look like who are mercenaries, who are like obviously they're ex-military or they're still in the military, you could probably tell the look. Like, what do they usually have? They have the long beard. They got a way that they wear their hat about them. Tattoos all over. Yeah.
Very
So
specific
we have one of these guys being interviewed by the newscaster who has this long beard, fucking hat on a certain way, holding himself a certain way, and he has this shirt on that's like a kind of like a equity, inclusion, diversity shirt. And he's part of the people who are lighting fires and stuff like that. One of the protesters who's getting interviewed. Yeah, I'm just like, this is insane.
There's another thing to mention regarding the Mexican flag. So obviously you have the old Aztec prophecy that you see on there with the eagle eating the snake. But if we understand that the snake itself is linked to the spine, it's linked to this idea of the mysteries, even the spirit, then of course the eagle, which is this symbol of, you could say, you know, matter in its more willful or powerful state, is eating the spirit. So it's almost like the final victory of matter over the spirit, things like that too. There's also something else to mention, is that the USA actually really began with fire and water too. You know, it began with the fire of revolution, and then obviously the watery melting pot.
Washington crossing the river delta.
Yeah.
You know, with the lamp torches, and then 1 if by land, 2 if by sea, which is all water and fire reference.
Yep.
It goes on and on and on. The civil and revolutionary, the Spanish-American War, it's loaded with the fire and ice, or fire and water, or red and blue of some sort. And then you had the Brits wear the red coats, and the Union, the American Union, was blue. Everyone wore blue coats. I mean, it's a never-ending Halo in the modern day. The Halo cartoon series is called Red vs. Blue.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So a lot of the flags are Mexican. Huh? They're not even because I saw some Palestinian, but they're doing the Mexican flag mostly.
Yeah.
That's bizarre.
Same colors.
Yeah.
Same colors. Yeah.
Because I was just thinking of the American flag and the British and the French, and we all have the same colors, just different orientations of shapes. That's it.
But go on, Silas. I didn't mean to cut you off. My bad.
No, it's all right. No, I interrupted you, man. No, it's I think the reason we have red, white, and blue is because those are attributed and associated with the various crowns of Egypt. So if we get back to this notion of the Hyksos, of course, when the Sea Peoples came, the Egyptians managed to fend them off, so that the Hyksos didn't get their, if you will, their revenge against Egypt. So who by and large were they had a Gnostic religion. They believed that the spirit itself was not of this world, where of course the Hyksos did believe that the spirit was of this, well, maybe not of this world, but it should be lord over this world, that matter should take precedent. So that essentially this is the battle that's ongoing. But even the idea of ice and water, so everything links with water. I mean, for example, all the financial terminology, right? Either links with the moon or it links with water. Yeah, liquidity, solvency, currency, you know, monetary, moony, the matrimony, where and then of course you go on your honeymoon, you create honey for the moon, because that's where you obviously you breed at that point, you consummate the marriage. Of course there's horse symbology too with the mare, but that also links with the sea in Latin, and even the merchant. So the mare chant, the chant of the sea. And again, this all really links back to what you're seeing in the celestial sky. So you'll see Orion, the headless, slumbering god. He is cast down a bit like Osiris is cast onto the River Nile in a box by Set. He's cast onto the Eridanus River, and it's the mere chants, which are essentially their entire purpose is to get him, is to trick him rather, with the power of Muni to be taken away by the currents of the currency. So you, essentially when you boil it down to that, the idea of the ice is almost like this idea of the currency is stopped, that the rivers of time they're not necessarily flowing as well as they should.
That's
harkens
interesting.
back. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sort of
and I mean,
harkening back to the
it's fire that gets it started and burning and moving. It's water that slows it and freezes it and solidifies it.
So this is what they're doing with everyone. They're creating like an artificial sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Not a frequency, but an artificial.
I would call it an artificial dam.
Like an artificial back and forth. What's the word? Why am I can't think of the word.
Alien dialect.
Well, they're basically creating like a stop-start, like in their, like, you know what I mean? They're creating like a artificial.
No, and that's just what we call it, is a stop-start motor. But
that's what you call the motor, a stop-start motor.
Yeah, because it doesn't have like a specific term for it.
Like I almost wanted to say like a metronome type of, but it's not. That's not what I mean either. I can't think of the word. There's some word I'm missing here.
Pendulum.
A pendulum. Yeah, it's almost like an artificial stop-start of a pendulum to control like the way, I guess, people's consciousness is gonna like react and then flow. Because if you can start and stop and keep putting people on these peaks of heightened awareness and fear and heightened emotions, and then these valleys and lulls where things slow down, you're gonna like be able to control them even without all the other stuff that they use already. Like you don't need drugs.
Right. You're creating mental fractures.
Yeah.
Inducing them through drugs or drugging the food or water.
Exactly. Yeah.
You can literally do it with information alone. And I mean, that's why I think the ice stuff's coming up the biggest, because it's a flood of information. And it's just an entire, that's the actual flood. It's not California's going to break off and get flooded. It's not 100-foot waves at every ocean coast. It's just that on the coast is where most people populate. You have the highest populations on coasts, and they're going to be totally overwhelmed with fire and ice. I mean, that's, and it is this stop and go, like you said, artificial or not, it doesn't matter if it's happening really fast, right? Where you have over the last couple of years, you've had fires and all this other stuff. Before those few years, the last few years before that, you had lockdowns, you had a stoppage, you had, no flow. It was iced. Everyone was iced out into their own homes. So it's ice, fire. Right now we're going back into ice. So you're creating these stop starts, all go, no go constantly.
And it which doesn't look and now it looks
that messes people up.
That doesn't bode well for us either. Now that we're hitting ice now, so that means probably the next thing we're going to see is some sort of fire, and I'm assuming that's going to be in a war sort of situation in the Middle East.
Eventually.
Yeah.
It could just be fires on the next set again, and then ice again, and you build it up. So
yeah, that's true.
Rock the boat until you actually want to flip it, right?
Mm-hmm. And what we had, and it's weird too, because did this all start out here really bad, 2 days ago on 6/6? So that's interesting. But there's also that 6/11 date coming up that Threadnosis and Levette have been talking about with like I don't want to give too much energy to it, but where there's like a possibly odd celestial alignment where they're saying there could be some sort of what's the New Madrid fault going off.
Maybe. I mean, I just watched Maximum Overdrive for the first time, which I've heard about it plenty. I knew about it, but I actually watched it for once, and that kind of the entire concept of the movie is that a comet is passing by, and then the tail of the comet of Rhea M, it causes all the machines on the planet to come to life and kill humans. So, and it's like it lasts 8 days, 23 hours, 8 minutes and 37 seconds or something, right? And so it's like basically you have to just survive on the planet for that long, and then all the machines will go back to normal, right?
That's hilarious.
Yeah, and it's like I watched it specifically because all I've been hearing is stuff from not just Levette, but a lot of these other channels that are in these circles and others that just somebody else said yesterday for us it's 6-9, Chris. I'm already past midnight. So
It's 6, yeah. It's about to be
going
6-9
into
here.
6-8 though, I think it was like 6-7 to 6-8. There was some other guy said something about we're going through a shift, right? A global
Always.
transitional. Yeah, I'm like that's to me that happens every day when I go to bed and wake up. But
the reason the one guy was saying, I think the 6-11, I even feel like with Levette is because it's like a 9-11. It's like a 9/11 reference, and there's something
inverted 9/11.
Yeah.
Flipped is a 9/11. Yeah. Well, it's just the other opposing 9/11. I mean, technically 3/11 is also one too, as well as
yeah.
There's a couple of them. 6/11, 9/11, 3/11. That's the equinoxial points, just like in this diagram that we have up here.
Okay, yeah.
Right.
And I mean, even like you could even say 11/11 if you want to go November, because November should be 9, yeah.
Right, that's what I mean. Like it's just because just like 3/6 as well. Like there's actually a lot of 3/6s. It's not just March 6th. That works. It's 9/6 is the same, and any other coordination you could do in that point, I would still refer right back to this type of square that we're looking at, because it's just the cardinal square. You can remove all the other symbols. The thing I always see the most is the cross in the middle, that cardinal direction pointer, right? And typically there's another one on top of it, so you usually have the Star of Ishtar, right? Your 8-pointed star. Which I would go kind of with what Slick talks about, where I think the pirates give you the clue for it, where it's 8 pieces of 9. The 8-piece Star of Ishtar is always referencing the 9-pointed diagram of the Enneagram.
Yeah. Then the whole Ishtar symbolism is always, it's been coming up a lot for years now. It's something I know that I've talked about with probably all of you guys a little bit. With this goddess, inverted goddess worship is everywhere.
Well,
go ahead, Silas.
Sorry to interrupt you, man. Remember as well that, of course, has anyone ever played that old game Morrowind? You had Nerevar, who was, I believe he was also named the Moon and Stars, right? Now, it was interesting because I was thinking about this while it was going on in LA, the whole riots. And if you look at, I just know that I remember this from some documentary on the Aztecs, or they're also called the Nahuatl culture. And Mexico itself, the name comes from 3 names compounded together. They're all from Aztec names. So you have Metzli, which is moon, and you have Xictli, which is navel or center, and then you have Co, which is like a place, it's a location. So literally all together, Mexico means the place in the center of the moon. So the moon is like this divine feminine, this regulator of time, if you will, or at least of the mundane. and then it's versing the stars and stripes. So it's there's this, and of course the star is linked to Ishtar. That's where the name comes from. Astara, Asterion, Ishtar.
And isn't this who the ancient Hebrews, I guess, used to worship? Like she would have been the consort, really, of
Asherah.
Yahweh eventually. Yeah, Asherah. Yeah.
Asherah, Ashtaroth,
Yeah.
Ishtar, Inanna. Yeah. So they're all connected. Even Saturn's Rhea. Rhea is simply just an abbreviated Asherah. So it's pretty much all there. It's all interconnected. And
Yeah.
something else just really quickly to mention is that I think that Mexican flag of course it's linked to the Aztec prophecy, but of course the eagle is linked with the US. Now perhaps what they're stating is that the snake, of course the serpent's linked with Eden, the Garden of Eden. It's linked with other things within the biblical context as well. Another way to interpret is that the snake now is rising. It's seeking to overthrow the eagle, this one nation under God, this imperial authority. So there is that idea too, but it's interesting because the Mexican Empire, its primary symbol was the eagle. They did have eagles, so very much like the US, but of course the US have kept that eagle symbolism, but Mexico has discarded it.
Yeah, and I feel like, dude, so many people overlook the Aztec connection to all the symbolism with the occult rituals going on in our culture here in the U.S. and in the West. Like, it's like no one really knows much. I was discussing this on a live stream with Gabe and PK not too long ago, and I forgot a lot of the stuff that you had brought up about the it was like the eclipse rituals that they had that basically seemed to mirror like the eclipse. I guess it was the series of eclipses we just went through, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah,
these guys were, and they were friggin' brutal, weren't they? The Aztecs.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. Well, absolutely, they were. I mean, as well, you have to remember they had a very interesting god called, he's known as Texcatlipoca, the Lord of the Black Mirror, the Lord of the Smoking Mirror.
Mm-hmm.
It's where we get this idea of the scrying mirror, and of course we all use scrying mirrors now. But
yeah, they had them. They had them as well there, just like in Egypt. Same, which I don't know how the hell they would have got them in Aztec country if there wasn't some advanced civilization that actually brought them there.
Well, that's the thing, there's this cultural overlap. They made them out of obsidian, but they also called this deity Yaotl. So you have another the Ya god, and of course you have Earth, which is Earth. So Ea is in Akkadian pronounced Ya. That is a derivation of Enki, which is the Lord of the Earth, which is the Sumerian name for it. So
Wilhelm Reich had EA as he would call primordial matter EA, and that's what he would call its one plasma entity that he would see.
That's what the water also symbolizes, the prima materia.
Yeah.
So it's like what you're saying, Regan. You create you oscillate quickly between hot and cold to heat the, I guess, if you will, the prima materia up, which is time itself, the temporal dimension or temporal substance, and you create fissures and fractures within it, vis-a-vis that that quick oscillatory pendulum swing between hot and cold, ice and water, vis-a-vis fire. But the idea of the place in the middle of the moon, that actually relates to Tenochtitlan, which is, of course, the Aztec capital. And that was in the middle of Lake Texcoco, I think that was the name. And Tenochtitlan has a very interesting etymology. I mean, it literally means the prickly pear which grows out of the rocks. Now, going back to the Bible, the Old Testament, of course, it states that Yahweh descended from Mount Seir, and that I believe there's also something in Deuteronomy where it mentions that Yahweh, the rocks give out their milk, and it's like a gift from Yahweh or something along those lines. Whenever you find these deities, these lords of the earth, they're always associated with the mountain. And of course, as you see with the diamond figure there, I mean, it's no wonder, right? It's all triangles. It's all the generative symbol. And again, if we were to view that triangle from an elevation point of view, from the ground level, it would look like 3 columns, which is what Kabbalah calls itself, the 3-column system. That's also linked as well, by the way, to the Saturn moon matrix. The central apex, the central column of that triangle is Saturn. And of course, the entrance and exit way to and from this, the mundane, is the moon, which is, of course, the womb. The womb, the moon, the tomb. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's like the 3 you put up here.
There's your glyph of Tenochtitlan.
Well, and that looks like the winter solstice glyph of the broken cross, upside down peace sign.
Yep. And it's interesting too, because when you look at the layout of the Aztec cities, especially places like Tenochtitlan, it actually is similar to the layout, I think, of the Jewish temples, like in the way they have things laid out. Mm-hmm. I know they found a mound in Wisconsin that I think I talked about this last time. Either we talked or I might have talked about it with Gabe, but it has the same name as the city that the Aztecs say that they descended from when they went down to where they came from in the north, and it's the name of a park, and it's, I believe, in either Wisconsin or Illinois. It's one of the two, and it looks literally like it's like a like one of the mounds like that they have found, and it's set up in a similar way where they found like a sacrificial pit. There was a place where the wealthier in the society would congregate. There was a place where the poor would congregate. There's a market area that, like, everything is set up the same exact way that you find the Aztec like cities and little areas like that set up down in Mexico.
It's interesting because, see, when you start looking into the codexes of the Aztecs, which of course were written down by their by Aztec nobles, which had been I guess you could say they'd become assimilated into Spanish or colonial culture by that point. But anyway, within the codexes, it states that Yaotl, the Aztecs didn't sacrifice originally, neither did the Mayans. The Mayans have a similar history surrounding this. It was actually this Lord of the Black Mirror, this, you could call it Saturn, Kronos, the Lord of the Earth, Yaotl, the Ya God, or literally the enemy or the adversary, which is, of course, what Satan means in Hebrew, Ha-Shaitan, that he imposed upon them sacrifice. He imposed that upon them on threat of death. And then you look further into it and you start to see some of the mythological kings of the Aztecs. And some of them have very strange names. I mean, I'm not meaning to cast aspersions here, but there was one of them known as literally Hook Nose. Do you know what I mean? And I don't. I find it strange. Perhaps there's some connection, right? I don't know. You also have the Dodeca stones as well, which were found, I believe, in New Mexico, which was all part of, obviously, the Chichimec tribes in the north, but it was all part of that sphere of influence of the Aztecs. And even Lake Texcoco, I believe the old term for it literally means, or the etymology. I forget the actual. There was something else the Aztecs knew it by. Yeah, that's it. Metzliapan, which means moon lake. So you've got this very strange connection between Mexico and the moon. Of course, you have the same thing with Hebrews and the moon, and the Levant, and those cultures, and even Mesopotamia and the moon, as opposed to Europe, which is of the sun. Of course, we worship the sun because we don't live in arid environments. They worship the moon because, of course, the arid environments, the sun is a bit of a torturous celestial power. So when the moon comes, it gets cooler. It allows them some respite, which it's reversed for us.
Yeah, it's cold and treacherous in the moonlight in the northern parts of most areas, where the sun is actually your savior every day to save you from the cold.
Oh, that's weird. Did you see this Aztec deity of the sun? They say his name means 4, the number 4 movement.
Yes.
That's interesting. I mean, that gets right back to that image you had up before.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I remember some stupid thing that happened to you one time that held on forever, right? Well, I have hundreds of them from elementary school and such. And I remember, I want to say it was one of my English teachers, actually. Yeah. And she was talking all about the compass and the 4 corners of the earth and how the world is designed based on 4s. And that's how she created the system for the perfect paragraph. And it was built into 4 sections, right, of how you build this perfect paragraph. And it has each statement, the intro, the meat of it, the hook, and then the conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, this is just her little perfect paragraph thing. Went on to win awards, and all these other, different students won all these different writing assignments for it. And the funny part about it was just the structure of it. It had nothing to do with the content of what the students wrote. It was literally just the process of what the teacher was teaching within this 4-dimensional, creation of a paragraph or whatever.
So it was all about just the technicality, like the literal, like the mechanism behind the actual.
Well, because that's what leads into algorithms,
Yep.
And that's what leads into artificial intelligence.
Exactly.
If we can create a perfect process, we don't need perfect people. People will just fit into the process, right?
Exactly.
So that this whole idea of 4, everything being divided up into 4s, I don't know. It's always made sense to me with the Hermetic principles being 7, which inhibits the law of 7, which inhibits the law of 3 and law of 4, as 3 and 4 add up to 7.
And then 007 is our good old man John D, who was 43 because
the infinite 7.
Yep.
Yeah, the 00.
And he seems to be one of the fathers of cryptography and what's the other one where you use images to hide stuff? Why can't I can never remember it. Not cryptography, but it's Silas, you remember this?
Like a visual cryptography? Yeah.
Steganography. There it is. Yeah. Yeah, but it's also, as I'm just like scrolling through the Tenochtitlan Wikipedia, I think what Silas was spot on with the Mexican flag being, like the Mexico's coat of arms is literally immortalizing, I guess, the Aztec Empire in a way, which is, it's pretty wild because it does seem like we're going through some sort of ritual that at least in the history that we've been taught, one of the examples that still might be somewhat there for us to read about that hasn't been changed like so much that we have no idea what would happen is the Aztec history.
It was something that was brushed under the rug. All the Aztec stuff, like Chris, growing up in the United States with our schooling system, you did some private school and things too, but
Yeah.
how did they teach you anything south of the United States? What were
So
you
we
taught
we
about?
did learn about the Aztecs and how they sacrificed,
Yeah,
but that's
like,
pretty
how
much
much?
that's the extent of it, I would say.
Right.
But it's at least it was mentioned.
But that's it.
Yeah.
It's like honorable mentions for
And I'm not saying
anything
that's
out of Brazil, Peru, Mexico,
yeah,
Costa Rica, Panama.
nothing
Like
out of the rest. Yeah.
it's all just like, oh yeah, they were crazy tribal people and they did sacrifice and they built these temples while they were wearing their underwear. Right? Like
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
basically all they tell
Exactly.
you. So it's like, why do you learn when you learn world history in any school in the United States, and I only can assume this for like almost the rest of the world other than South America, do they brush over South America and Central, which is like Mexico and Costa Rica, Cuba, other than like the Cuban Missile Crisis, the Spanish conquistadors coming in and killing all the Aztecs and Mayans. Like, other than these little highlights, right? You get like the ESPN highlight reel.
Well, are we
That's
sure
it.
even and are we even sure that all the Aztecs and Mayans, but didn't one group of them disappear? Which group? Which was the group?
Toltecs,
The Toltecs disappeared. Okay.
who have the four ways, which is another four type thing. And they were kind of the original civilization sitting there kind of before the Mayans or the Aztecs really, or they were a branch off of the Mayans. I'm pretty sure was the Toltecs.
Okay. So basically, it was kind of like a Mayan thing where they dipped out. Their ancestors dipped out. No one knows where they went.
Toltecs to me kind of sound like the Gnostics are to Christianity.
Okay.
So the
Okay.
Toltecs are almost like the Gnostics to the Aztecs or the Mayans, right? They were kind of like the ones like, hey, most of this stuff sounds awesome, but I don't think slitting people's throats in a pit are gonna like make our God happy and our farmlands grow. Like maybe
See,
there's a better way.
see this up here.
Yeah, look at that empire there.
We have our red and our blue. And I think this is why we probably didn't learn much about them, because part of the religious system that the social engineers sort of are still have been, I guess, involved in since the beginning of history, and have been just secretly fucking practicing in the background. It still kind of was being openly practiced maybe in parts of South America, and they don't want us knowing a lot of it because it gets dark, I'm sure.
Well, and it might start sounding like stuff today.
Yeah.
In a different way.
And I'm sure there was technology that we don't know about, because I know even Steiner was saying that they had technology out here before we were allowed to even travel out here from Europe.
I don't think it takes more than an average layman of construction to tell you that none of the things that are built in the megastructures of the ancient past are possible today.
Yeah. Well, we don't even know what half of them did.
Well, I'm just saying, like, we glorify ourselves for building like the Sears Tower and the Empire State Building, and like those things aren't shit. To me, that's like, you built a Tonka toy and said you built, an F1 series Formula racing car, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
The Empire State and the Sears Tower, you're talking about cinder block and steel girders just stacked on top of each other for, a mile, maybe. Like the railroads and the roadways are more impressive to me than that.
Yeah.
Like you built railways across the entire length of a 3,000-mile continent multiple times in multiple directions. That's like a feat. That's an actual accomplishment. You built this building that's 5,280 stories tall of cement and steel girders in a straight fucking square. Okay, like
Yeah, no,
impressive.
exactly. And they can't even take out half the buildings that are some of these old world buildings. They can't move them.
No, we don't know how.
Yeah, we don't know how.
Destroy the material because it's too strong.
Well,
Yeah.
they're built in a monumental style. I mean, they're unlike the buildings that you see, maybe even just from the Georgian times. It's all of it is just mainly ashlar, or it might, maybe some sort of dressed sandstone facade. But these buildings here, you even see it with the Hellenic and Roman buildings. They're literal monolithic, meaning they're sort of they're built in
one piece cut out.
One piece cut out, yeah. Built out of several huge pieces of stone, or just one piece of this giant block. I mean, it's and by the way, that makes no sense from a logistical standpoint unless you have the technology and the logistical networks to move that easily. Construction works along the lines of you want it done as quickly as possible, because essentially what you're doing is expending state resources, which you could be using to, I don't know, expand the borders, or to prepare for war, which is of course what all states are always attempting to do. But yeah, it also doesn't make sense either, because you wouldn't see these buildings that they're constructing here. They're constructed to be durable and to stand the test of time, which of course we did similar things with churches and such, and other monumental feats of architecture, which by the way, they don't even rival what you're seeing in the ancient world. But we tried to build them so they could stand the test of time. That shows you the psychology of the people who built it. They built it because they desired they basically were planting seeds for trees whose shade they shall never sit under. It's that idea of they're thinking on the meta level, on the long term. Of course, we are thinking on the short term. You can see it with our buildings. They're pretty much temporary in all but name. Even the building materials that we use.
We're looking at 10 years or less now.
Oh yeah. Well, all the houses here are 10 years, or I wouldn't even give them 10 years. Some of them are really quite.
I'm being generous.
Yeah. Yeah, some of them are really shoddily built now.
See, this statement is insane, and I mean, you could just see it even in the island, which is obviously it's artificial. It does not look natural. Where they have Tenochtitlan, this like a city built. It's almost like Venice, like a city built on waterways. But I mean, even here, the Spanish are quoted as saying there's great towers and buildings rising from the water, like made out of this incredible masonry, and it's like it's amazing even to them. It just doesn't make sense.
They also talk about in the codexes the Tower of Babel, that they had a similar myth. That they had a similar myth regard. Again, this is not. I'm not saying that they've just come up with this. I think
this looks exactly like what's it called? Every time your image of the tower of is yours the Tower of Babel in your image, or is that the other tower? Isn't there another tower that there's a name for the other? There's like two towers.
It looks like they look like ziggurats as well, which is probably what the Tower of Babel was based off of. But
this looks exactly like it to me every time I see this conquest of Tenochtitlan.
Oh yeah. Well, you're totally correct. It does look like Venice. I mean, and of course the Venetians. That sounds very much like the Phoenicians. You could even say that the way that they structured their maritime empire, maybe not politically, but at least militarily, was quite similar to of course many other maritime empires. But of course, the Phoenicia comes to mind, and it's interesting because we actually have Phoenician inscriptions from both North America and Mesoamerica, or Central America, and
the one that Barry Fell discusses within his book Saga BC, America BC, I think it's called. He mentions that there's a Phoenician inscription that was found. It was either Rhode Island or New Jersey. I forget where now, but it states upon it that this Phoenician corporation, this maritime corporation, it's a trading corporation, that their name, we claim this land in the name of that Phoenician maritime corporation. So you have these inscriptions too. You have Hebrew inscriptions, as I mentioned, around the Dodecalogue stone, which gives the prayer, the Shema prayer of Israel. So basically affirming the monotheistic faith of the Abrahamic deity. So yeah, you've got all of these connections. I mean, there's what I think has happened is that they assimilated this culture long ago. They imposed a type of Abrahamic like faith upon it. That basically set the ground for what would happen later with Hernan Cortes. And of course, all of the prophecies were set up in such a way with Quetzalcoatl and the savior, the white savior with I think blonde hair was how they dressed the prophecy up. That allowed them to basically be conquered quite easily. And again, that was all by design. That was probably set up along, I don't know, a 500-year plan, because that's how long these people plan ahead. So, yeah, I think they were assimilated. I think that it was a merchant secret, the New World. And you even see little inklings of it within the Old Testament, the land of Ophir, and which was this sort of, the way it's dressed up in the Old Testament. Solomon's fleet, they go to this hidden land, to, I mean, even its etymology doesn't really give any clues from where it's about. So it's this sort of hidden land, this unknown land that's only really known to Solomon and the rest of, well, I don't know, the merchants of Israel or what have you. But I think it was a secret that was known about. I think they used the gold that was here, the copper, the iron, all of the various mineral resources. They assimilated the cultures religiously, culturally. That allowed them access to the the exploitable resources, and then they could, of course, use that as collateral to set up fiat currencies. Phoenicia, these this area, Phoenicia, the Amorites, the areas of the Levant, Syria, Assyria, places like that, even all the way to, of course, Babel. So those areas knew about the New World, I believe, intimately. I think they set up settlements there.
They were there.
Yeah.
They visited and came back, and I think that was like their vacation spots at the time. Would have been like the hidden world of the Aztec Empire or whatever other place, right? I mean,
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, like during those times, that would have been like the home away from home that you have set up, and it was just they teach us this fucked up history, so it's really hard to think about because at the time they probably did have air travel, but it was only restricted to the most elite, the most, the top of the chain, top of the pyramid type people. So if they had air travel also and they were hiding it from everyone, they would have the airstrips or the places with anything that flies in the air would be remote, most likely. They go fly in on carriages and
So it's so interesting you're bringing up this thing about the.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's really hard to even think about just because we've all been taught the same one history. So then it's really hard to go like, all right, these guys weren't running around in their underwear. Like, that was just what they show you the slave classes look like, and then they show you the kings and queens and all that and these big dresses and these big things. But were they really wearing all that? You don't know.
So look at this image on the screen right now, right? This just look at where I have my. I don't know if you could see my. Actually, you probably can't see it on my head. Yeah, can you see it now? Okay.
Circle.
You see this part, and like you see you have the building in the middle, kind of like, I mean, it's almost even like a spire in the middle going up. Like this came up before when I was looking into Onassis, after the Kennedy thing, and Onassis actually was like a huge shipping and not aerospace, but he was just into aeronautics. He had a bunch of airports that he owned, and it was like that, almost like like the Onassis family almost owned like every freaking Greek airport in the whole, like, that there was for a while. He was a huge mogul in that respect. But then I found like who had bought that airline that he used to own, one of the airlines that he used to own. And let me show you what their emblem is really fast, just because I was finding it like, the reason I brought it up originally was that if this guy and his whole family owned all these airlines, they could have been pulling ops with a lot of these so-called plane crashes that killed very wealthy people that then we never saw again. They could have very easily been faked, or just very easily set up to actually like get rid of those people. Like, it could go either way. But it's like if they've had this much control of these type of industries and they have this much money, I definitely think. And now I'm seeing, like, even in the symbolism, which I'm about to show you, the symbol on the flag of the place that now owns one of the airlines. Hold on, let me switch it over.
I was going to mention just really
So
quickly.
you see this?
Looks like a fucking anchor.
Yeah.
And like, it's just like, when I see that, I mean, and I go back to there's just like you could see that these cultures and these families that have been running things forever, or puppets of the people who are actually running things, they've been using the symbolism across cultures. It's just wild, man.
You see the deity as well in the center there. That's it.
Oh, wait, let me go back to it. Hold on.
That deity in the center is a Koil Shoaki, which is literally the goddess of the moon.
Yeah, and I'm guessing this is like the dark goddess they're trying to.
Yeah,
they're all messing with. Yeah.
This is the oracle of the Matrix, or the mother of the Matrix, the oracle. So it's the regulator of the mundane, as opposed to Saturn, which regulates the grander cycles. But you were showing the Brunei as well, the flag of Brunei. So of course you see the caduceus there, which links with Mercury, that links with water, that links with the prima materia. But you'll notice as well both the Venetian crescent, so the crescent of Venus. Again, that's another connection with Venus too, right? Venus. So you have the mother goddess there too, again in a different light, in a different sort of aspect, astronomically. But you also have, of course, the crescent of the moon. So the crescent of the moon looks like the sickle too, right? Because it's
the harvest.
Saturn wields the sickle. He wields the crescent of the moon, because the crescent of the moon is what provides us the illusion of choice, if you will, get back to the Matrix. It's what provides us, the sort of blindfold, if you will, of choice, which allows us to be carried by the current of time. So there's something else to mention too regarding your very poignant and infographic, Regan, with the seasons. The 8 rays also corresponds to the 8 phases of the moon, between the waxing, waning, and gibbous phases and that. So there's 8 major phases, and then of course the center is the 9th, the 8 pieces of 9, right? Where the 9th point would essentially be like what we see with Mexico in its name, the center of the moon, right? The center point of the moon. So it's this idea that is the sort of entirety of the moon contained within a singularity. So essentially what you're seeing is that's the central point of the throne, if you will, the throne of the mother goddess. And this gets back to Cassiopeia. Now, I don't have the infographics here, but if you look at the first...
Do you want me to pull something up?
Yeah, here,
well, yeah,
I'm going for stuff.
If you
I'll stop sharing this.
If you look at Cassiopeia, the constellation is a W shape. Of course, that's the Shin letter. We could, you could spend hours and hours and hours. By the way, that's the same shape as those 3 cactus, or 3 cacti, pardon. So...
also the cacti, that's, I'm assuming, the rock that they would drink milk out of. Yes. It would be like the root of the cacti, yeah.
Yeah, the prickly pear and all. It's this idea. Again, we're not really sure because we don't have we no longer, they never wrote this down in terms of what the symbolism meant, but breaking it down from what we can see and infer from other human cultures is that it would have related probably to the arid environment that from the mineral rock, which is the base form of life, came sustenance. And there's even this story that the Aztecs, when they were founding Tenochtitlan and the Aztec Empire, that they were wandering nomads. They were in a process of what obviously Kabbalah would call Galut, which is the process of Exodus. And yes, and of course they founded an empire and conquered a country, conquered an entire landmass. So yeah, there's connections there too. But yeah.
Did you have something you were going to share for that, Regan, or you can't find it?
I have so many different things.
Oh yeah, I was going to mention if you source there's a very famous photo where there's a Masonic initiate of the 1st degree. The way that they roll up all of their, they roll up their sleeves, they expose their left breast, they roll up their right leg trouser. Mm-hmm. If you overlay that W shape of Cassiopeia onto the Masonic, that Masonic initiate, it lines up exactly with the illustration of her body, which of course you have the constellation art associated with the constellation itself. But she's at the center. She's at the center of the World Tarot card. What you see in the World Tarot card is Cassiopeia. She is enthroned, and like an hourglass, biannually she flips around. Like you would with an hourglass, right? And this links us to the fire and water, fire and ice, which is, as I mentioned at the start, the biannually, or within the cycle. So twice within the cycle, there's a great reset. Once with a deluge, either with water or ice, and then next will come the final reset comes with fire. So you have this same idea that you see within the turning of the hourglass, or the flipping 180 of the constellation Cassiopeia, who is the mother goddess at the center. I forget what her name means. Oh yeah, she who is of the throne. So the throne, by the way, isn't the throne of Cassiopeia. she who is of the throne, that relates to the throne in heaven. And you see that throughout all cultures. It links back to Saturn, the black throne, that idea. So, yeah.
Is this what you want to have up? The moon phases, Regan?
Well, it doesn't matter which picture we really put up. It's just, here's your 8 phases. You're going to see 9 because the new moon repeats twice. Or repeats once. I mean, it kind of all ties in. Like, again, here's where like the Enneagram stuff comes from. It's the lunar cults with the 9 phases here, or the 8 phases with, the 9th repetitive. Same thing happens in music within an octave, right? Except it's with 8. And you have the repeating is the 8th, so there's actually only 7, right?
There's another mother goddess in the Aztec, I think, or it's either Aztec or Mexican. I can't remember.
Quetzalcoatl.
Is it Quetzalcoatl?
I mean, that's one of the main ones.
Why did I think Quetzalcoatl was the male snake-feathered?
Yeah, male snake.
Yeah,
feathered.
snake-feathered
Quetzalcoatl's
serpent.
spouse, though, has got a very similar name with the female.
What is her name?
The phonetic.
I can't. Yeah, I don't remember her name. But I mean, I feel like, but even in Mexico in general, they even on like the which I think we just passed their Day of the Dead, the May 5th thing, right? Isn't Cinco de Mayo the Day of the Dead?
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's a bunch of feminine deities that they worship in that, and it does seem like this dark feminine thing is like getting really oddly out in the open.
Well, that's the big push.
Yeah.
To put the feminine as the how do you say this? Like, you say the feminine is replacing the patriarchal throne in a way.
And it's like I know it's supposed to be an inversion of the feminine, so just not
it's
so we don't.
Opposite of what the feminine
should
naturally already desires when they come here.
Yes, exactly.
They don't desire power and control in the sense of what the patriarchy is, as it's discussed by liberals or whatever group, is putting that name out there. So it's kind of like this weird inversion of like, this is what you want, women. This is, go for this. And what it is, though, the thing that they're being directed to desire is the patriarchy's natural ability. Like, it's the masculine, the male, like what we naturally go for. God, what do you call that? It's like our natural binary DNA coding that tells you to do this.
Yeah, they're taking on masculine traits and thereby getting rid of their. I mean, they're not integrating the masculine correctly. It's becoming basically
it's a swap.
It's a swap, and it's also like the most extreme, unhealthy version of each modality.
Right. Like, you women should go out there and try to become the most successful, right? Or earn the most money in the currency system, right? Moon, money, currency, water. Earn the most. And then also, like, sleep with as many males as you possibly can, which doesn't make sense. If you're a woman, you sleep with as many males as you can, trying to create the best progeny, but really you should just be looking for the one individual male, right?
Exactly.
So
and they're never happy.
Yeah, they'll never be happy. A man can go sleep with as many women as he wants. He'll impregnate the ones that he thinks are the most suitable for procreation, and then Like it doesn't matter in that sense. And yeah, it sucks. It's not fair when you look at it that way. But that's the whole idea, is that, like, okay, men are designed in this specific way. We have these specific thoughts. We're very physical. We can see better, jump higher. We're more physical. Women are more the caregiver role. They're actually they're better than us at 50% of the other shit, like,
well, and the problem is it becomes like that's not every man who does that. It's just like not every woman does what we're talking about here now.
There's huge extremes, and we'll always backtrack on our speech and say that because we're making giant generalizations.
Yeah, but the problem is the majority of women seem to be treating those extremes as if they are an overlapping trait that all men share, or they're being taught to believe that.
Well, they're naturally going to, because well, I mean, I would just say from the statistics from the dating apps, you have just how men and women look at each other. You have 90% or whatever it is, high percentage of women in the dating apps only go for 10 to 5% of the men or less.
Yeah.
Which dating apps are purely visual, purely I'm attracted by my visual sight to you. So that dictates that, okay, women only find about 5 to 10% of men attractive in the first place. So you might as well take that variable off the table and say women have no desire to find a man attractive, right? Like, that's not the big pull. But when you look at the opposing view, men, are almost 90% of men match with women, or at least say they want to, right? And they think they're attractive. Like, there's just that base principle of how we view each other.
And then it all becomes a vicious cycle with the treatment. If one person gets hurt by one person, they take it out on everyone else who they meet after that because they're so traumatized by what happened.
Right.
And it's, I mean, it also...
Yeah, those are all extremes. Like,
but but I do think I almost think it's now becoming like a less of an extreme. It's almost becoming a norm, and you could kind of see it now being reflected. I think that's why the culture is so messed up, because it's not just happening in relationships. A Corona stone, that's fun. But it's not just happening in relationships. It's happening in, like, also the relationship that people have with their culture and their political philosophies now.
Well,
so
the whole paradigm's been molded.
It's all behaving that way. Yeah.
Well, because while we were growing up, Chris, it's like, I don't know. To me, it seemed very obvious. But if I said anything about it, I got beat and punished and put in a corner and yada yada. So I just kept going with the flow like anybody else. Like, but every time I fight against it, I just get yelled at, even if I'm in the right, even if I have all the evidence behind me, all the cards. And it's like, okay, well, if this is the response I get, well, the society is just accepting this as like a normal thing,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it was like with my own parents, they're both very successful, but my mom definitely makes more. She makes a larger amount of financial currency.
Okay.
So I grew up in this very strange, like, my dad was still the more stern person. He's definitely the one, like, if we're going to get in a fight, I wouldn't want to fight my dad. He's a bigger guy. But he still would yield to my mom no matter what. So I grew up in my dad was like the beta male. And
then for someone like you, then seeing all these women who are saying that there's no equality for women, that it must seem insane. Like, that's the same thing for me.
Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, my mom runs the house. She pays the mortgage.
Exactly. And
my
then
dad pays the small bills.
And for some reason, your lived experience doesn't count as much as everyone else's, which is like, that's like the problem here. It's like, because Yeah. No, I know.
Well, most of the guys I went to school with grew up with single moms. They grew up with just their mom or just their dad in the extreme cases, and then maybe both parents or maybe some other situation other than that. So when I'm arguing with these guys, people our age of our generation while we were growing up, and they're going, "Oh, well, I just have my mom only," and yada yada yada. I'm like, "Well, you're not even seeing the other half."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you're not even seeing what's happening to the actual men in society. You don't have the father figure, and you're
Exactly.
just being raised by your mom, which is like that's kind of one of those Turing effects for what created Hitler. Hitler was supposedly raised by a single mother.
Yep. And no one ever brings that up.
No, that's
I
hearsay.
mean, Crowley just hated his dad, but his dad died. But Crowley, I think, too, loved his mother.
Right.
And it's like, well, these toxic people sometimes come from that. Not saying every time, but obviously this can work both ways, people.
Well, and you can have all the different extremes, but right now, the highest extreme that exists is single mothered sons.
Yeah. And
You know?
look where we are. It's like it's obviously it's not working.
No, because and we were talking about this on our stream the other day and before, and I know a lot of our women listeners and participants like they don't like to join, but it's just like a truth of the fact of the applicable reality in which ways things work, where it's like, look, I'm more prone to be able to do these things. A woman in most cases is more prone to be able to do kind of the opposite, you know.
And then we get this when this happens. This is what happens. We get these things coming out.
It's ICE raids
For the trans immigrant defense effort, telling the trans immigrants how to stay calm, stay silent.
Know your rights.
Like it's called Tide. This is like you're saying, this is the flood.
Yep.
And this is insane that this is even a thing. That you have the transgender non-citizens being looked out for more than the majority of, even more than veterans, I would say.
And all right, ICE, which is immigration, which means people who are here illegally. You're telling them how to know their rights.
Tell me how many transgender and illegal immigrants are here.
I'm sure none.
So where's this money really going that they're even using to make this entire program? I can't even believe this popped up.
Immigrants in our country who are working illegally,
or the black projects. Like who the hell knows? It's definitely being taken.
What I mean, like it's just
it's being taken from us. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
But I thought that was insane when I just saw that.
Well, they just keep running these protests, and people keep believing that they're actually real.
I know. It's never gonna stop, man. These people, they can't catch on for some reason. I don't understand it.
Because you have to accept that the American dream's dead.
Well, yeah.
And I think most people, even our age and above, have trouble with that. Like, they don't want to believe it. They want to believe that they could get 2 cars, the house, have the family, start buying the toys, and live like their grandparents have for the last 100 years. That's why. Like
but even though the majority of them hate this place, so it's like it's such a weird.
But they still look like I even do, right? I'm still thinking like my grandparents got to travel to 121 countries. They went to all these other places, and both of them they're not millionaires. They didn't have wondrous jobs. They started at the bottom at places, and they worked up, and they saved money, and they did these different things. But that was through a specific time period.
Yep.
A lot of people keep asking me, well, aren't you going to do the same? I'm like, no.
How?
That was a different time. They were able to do that. My grandpa was the only one that worked for like 60 of the years. Grandma only worked for 25 years as like regular jobs, like part-time minimum wage type jobs. And they were able to do all these things, have a house on the lake, have timeshares and all this other bullshit. Today, at this point in time, like I'm at the age that they were at when all this started happening for them. Like, there's no way I could do that.
Yeah, we can't even set goals at this point because we have no idea where things are going to be in 5 years.
Unless you hit a lottery or something, right?
Exactly.
For all of them, that was regular working jobs. You could have just the husband working and support 5 kids and a wife off like a not minimum wage, but it was just your everyday laborer, like
Exactly.
not a business owner. You didn't own multiple companies. Like my grandpa just worked as a tax accountant a majority of his career, right?
Yeah, man.
And like again, we're still using like one personal thing. My grandparents had 150,000 friends that I met over the years. They were all in the same situation. They all had like cabins, extra houses. They were paying for their kids' college. They were
exactly. I would probably wage a bet that every one of my friends' parents from at least up through high school had a house that they owned.
Maybe a extra property of some sort.
And most of them probably had a second property after by the time my friends got to college. Yeah. And now buying a house for the majority of us is, especially out here, it's I wouldn't be able to buy a house out in California because I think that the average house price is around $1 million. How the hell do you buy a house worth $1 million?
Dude, our shitty houses here in Detroit are $250,000.
Yeah.
And it's a shitty house. When I say shitty house, I'm talking.
You mean really shitty?
But it's like
unlivable.
It's basically a trailer.
Yeah.
That's the size of it. It might have a basement. It might have this, but it's the size of a trailer upstairs. That's your main. It's 1,000 square feet tops.
Yeah. My old apartment here was I was paying almost $1,700 a month in rent, and it was a studio.
Right.
So just it was basically a dorm room with a bathroom and a half a wall in between my room and the living room, and a little kitchen. It's insane.
Oh yeah, no, I'm paying $1,800, but that gets you a little more here.
Yeah, well, I mean, but
it's not that much.
But do you have a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom?
This is 3-bedroom.
Yeah, so that's a studio. I had a studio.
I know. You're also in LA.
Yeah, exactly. That's why.
I'm in Detroit, so it's
so it should
for what this house is. We should be paying half.
Yeah, minimum. Yeah. Well, the only place, there's a few places left like that, like Oklahoma. I feel like you could pay what I was paying in rent for a mortgage on a 5-bedroom house on a lake with a couple acres of land.
Yeah.
But who the hell wants to live in Oklahoma?
Well, and same thing in North Dakota and Tennessee and etc.
Yeah.
But the thing is, to go live in a house like that there, you have to have a job that at least supplies enough to pay for it, and most of the jobs there don't pay that much.
Exactly.
So it just
doesn't
balance out no matter what.
Not unless we could make money on our own, which is what I'm trying to do, and I'm sure we're all trying to eventually get to a point where we could do that, but they're not making it easy.
No, it's super hard right now.
Yeah. I brought this up because I found this stone. This is actually a stone from they say it's one of the ancient Greek I guess stones that help them with the language. It looks like the Mayan. It looks like the Mayan. That's why I brought it up, especially considering that God was considered had fourth in the name. I forget what it was, the fourth something deity. It was that one sun god that was red. And I remembered this because I had sent this to Gabe yesterday. after finding this stone, I found this company Fourth, and there was a bunch of reasons why I brought it up. One was the whole Greek connection, because me and him have been going back and forth about how our timelines all mess up, just like we were kind of saying tonight. But we've been focusing on the Greek part of it, like like all the flamenco stuff and whatnot.
Right.
But it's also interesting that Fourth is not just this. This is a computer science, biology, engineering company. There's also Forth, which is a programming language, all capitalized, same way. So it's like, how old is all this stuff, man? It's wild. And why is this here? Why is this what they're using? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And then we have the T, obviously highlighted with which these T stones in every single culture that we're finding as we go further back and further back. It's bizarre, man. And I don't think we're ever gonna, it's like at this point, I think everything's too scrambled for us to ever really know. But this is funny too. Oh, there's ice right there. What are they doing? The Institute of Chemical Engineering and High Temperature Processes. Yeah, they're gonna cause some artificial oscillations. Oh, this is in Southern California. That makes sense. That makes sense. Have you been seeing anything while we were talking as to what's going on out here? Or did it calm down? Or are they still lighting fires? You there, brother? Regan? Nothing? Alright, everyone. Just technical difficulties. Hold on 1 second. You back? You back?
Yep.
My bad. I didn't even hear you were going anywhere.
No, I know. I was trying to say. I had to go real quick.
But yeah, it just I don't think we're ever going to figure out what the hell happened with all of our history and what technology they're using. It's all so scrambled. It's everywhere. It's all over the place. We're on a
I've
wild.
always wondered, would it matter? You know, like anything beyond 200 years ago.
Probably not. Probably not.
You know, and then like that's I say 100 to 200 years because it's like at least you have communication with people for the last 100 years. You know, if you don't have grandparents, there's still people alive today who were alive 100 years ago, and they can at least give you their experiential experience, explain it to you, and pass it on and all that. So I would say like up to like 200 years ago, are you really going to know much beyond then outside of books, which we have to trust that the information out of the book is correct. You have to trust that the author's projecting it in the right way. You have to trust, you know, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and there's I mean, same thing. I always bring this up. Steiner even said 50 years if you're lucky.
Right.
I thought
like,
this
that's
was
what I mean. Just start putting parameters where it's like, okay, well, I've been alive this long, so at least I know this stuff. Like I've been here for it to some extent, and then I got my parents, maybe my grandparents, and maybe a few other generations or aunts, uncles, etc. So like Steiner saying, like 50 years.
Yeah.
I would say just the farther you start going out, the more iffy it becomes. Like you're not really gonna know, right?
Yeah, I mean, basically, we have to start keeping our own chronologies and like hopefully passing it down to our families, and so that there can be like we need like what we really need is way to communicate with people who are like-minded, where they can share actual history that's been written down by trusted family and has been passed down, and try to just create our own from now until however long we can keep it going, because there's no other way we're going to have an accurate history, and like in 100 years it'll all be changed again, and then our grandchildren will be confused as hell, just like we are. And I wish our parents and grandparents would have actually considered these types of things, because I mean, they were staring at a freaking Egyptian pyramid with a all-seeing eye on it for their entire lives on the dollar bill, and never seemed to have any questions about why. And I never understood that.
Oh, and all the other stuff too.
Yeah, there's so much. That's just like the most basic one, because I even asked about that as a kid, like, why is this on our money? And no one cared. And this is interesting too. I just saw this at the bottom. That's why I reshared this page. 3 authority-controlled databases that are listed here on this fourth wiki: United States, Greece, and Israel. That's pretty telling, I think.
Oh, yeah.
But I think they're missing one. I would say the UK should probably be there. London, City of London.
Well, they might be the hidden fifth.
Yeah,
point.
exactly. Because I think, I mean, or it could just be like it's like a umbrella within all 3 of them, like you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, they got the Union Jack flag, which is the cross, red, white, and blue right across their center. And then Greece is just blue and white with a cross,
I mean, the more we go back to these, the hell is this page? But the more we go back and start looking at who is actually in control, it seems like it's all, like, a lot of it's based out of the kingdom in the UK. It does seem like they were part of the huge shift in history. For some reason, they decided to change a bunch of shit with the help of their priests across the globe. This is interesting here too.
Well, all the power moved to the west.
Yeah.
During the Christ era, which could have been 700 years ago, could have been 2000, could have been whatever it was. But most of the time prior to that, all of the wealth and knowledge and elitism and all that kind of stuff was held in the East. It was held by China and the Middle East and Russia and all those places. So it's like they kind of wiped all the history of what really happened then. They just give us dynasties and the Dark Ages and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, the Dark Ages nonsense. And the more you look at it, the more like, geez, the stuff with this, like, that the authors, like, not just flamenco, but there's another guy who shared with me. I think he shared some of it with his Telegram group as well. But basically he goes through how, like, all of the Greek history we've been taught, it seems like there's like a phantom version of it, like that's happened 1800 years beforehand. Right. And it mirrors itself. It almost happens twice. And it's really wild if you, like, look at how even the name change from, they were like the Hellenics or the Hellenes to the Romans, back to the Hellenes, back to the Romans, back to the Hellenes, back to the Romans, back to the Hellenes. It's like, how did that even happen? It doesn't make sense.
History hacking.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what, it's a guy that runs a channel called History Hacking.
Oh, okay, that's a channel. I'm gonna follow them. Yeah, because I've been getting into that because there is a problem for me with all the Greek stuff.
He does real simple stuff. That's why I like him a lot. I haven't watched him in a while, but real simple. The kings and queens out of the UK, they're all repeated.
Yeah, See,
so
this
like King Henry, Queen Elizabeth,
here.
James. It's
I'm gonna
all the same names over and over again.
I'm gonna share something that I was gonna wait a little while to share, but I'll share it right now, really fast. From
might as well. We've already went over the.
Yeah, no, I was gonna actually share it because it was something that when I did the next live with Gabe and PK, because it was something we were talking about. But I don't care. I could share it twice. Who cares? Just because it was something Gabe had sent me. But where the hell is it? It's that's not it. Looking for it. Did I put this? Might be in Gabe's chat. But basically, it's I'm trying to fill some of the dead air here. Gabe sent me that video I was telling you about, which is based on a book about did Greece exist? And oh, here it is. Found it. Okay, perfect. Let me share this. Man, how the hell am I going to do this? It's so hard to share stuff from Telegram. Let me move this over to a different screen. Hold on. Share screen. Okay, so I'm back. So this is one of the timelines. It's very small right now. Let me see if I can make it a little bigger for y'all. So like this is one of the mirrored timelines. We have the first period of the Roman blah 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 141 to 314, and then the second period you go 314 to 532. And these are the events, and that's how they look. And immediately when I saw that, I was just like, that reminds me of
the chalice.
It reminds me of that, the Grail. Basically, it's like it's the Grail, and I'm like, is that the Holy Grail? That's what I started asking myself. And if you start really looking into the Grail, even and just the connections in the language, and you start really going down some rabbit holes that we don't have to get into right now. But yeah, man, there's something really sketch about all this stuff.
Well, the word's a rabbit hole in itself, right? The Grail is G-rail. It's like saying God's rail, right? Like it's
and also
the railroad line, rabbit hole. You know, you could tie all this stuff together. How this is done.
And also you start like looking at like you're saying the G-rail or Graal. It's like it's gray. It's a gray. You have the gray in there.
Right.
So you have these gray men who are hiding all of this history.
Well, it's the power. You know, without the history, you don't have the power. Everyone yields to history. You know, when we have battles with the Union and we're doing whatever, I just call it a court case at this point because that's what it is. You call their lawyer in, they come in, and you hold like this court hearing if you're going to give someone time off for not doing something, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's like that entire system is mimicked around the maritime law system with honors and judges and lawyers and etc. And it's all mirrored within there. And so like like you were showing with the Holy Grail representation, it's all mimicked, it's all mirrored. The Greek timeline could be this mirrored timeline to the Roman timeline.
And here is another thing, because that Grail is actually called a Rubin vase, and it actually looks more like it when you look at the Rubin vase. But the Rubin vase itself, even the definition of what the visual effect is, it literally is all about these paralleling, these patterns,
right,
and that are literally in alignment with each other. Yeah, and then he also was a philosopher, and he was a Gestalt psychologist. So that's interesting in itself, because there's a bunch of stuff that connects with that. But I'm not going to get into that right now, because that's a whole different rabbit hole.
Well, I mean, it could even go into other rabbit holes with like the ink blots that psychologists look just like that.
And we know that the first psychologists were occultists, and that's where that comes from. The whole science comes from occultism.
Psychoanalogy.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is. It's psychiatry, psychoanalysts. They're all about learning of the completely insane. Which, if you want to know about the insane, it's all about someone who beats their head against the wall. Someone who beats their head against the wall has like a repetitive mirrored image, just like these images we see here. That's why like the ink blot thing works. That's why it determines if someone's actually psychopathic or not.
Yeah, yeah. And it's interesting too, even the Maltese cross going up here.
Oh, which is one of the ink blots.
Yep.
Or it can be, right?
Mm-hmm. But this is even the way they describe it. So like when two fields, like fields of what? Fields of geography, fields that like have a common border. Like
Etheric auras is what I would think.
Well, I'm just thinking even you could there's probably many layers that are hidden within, because he's obviously just talking about this image. That's what it should be. But if you like think about it and you apply it to the way that we have these cities with mirrored names and these histories that seem to be mirroring each other with these very similar close names of very important figures in both histories. So you have two fields with a common border, and one is seen as a figure and the other as ground. Like it's like one is seen as past, one is seen as present. It's just and then like this perceptual experience shapes the effect that emerges. So it's like these common borders and fields and these common histories are shaping what emerges from them. But are they actually even real? We don't know.
No, I think it's like an illusion.
Yeah.
Like it's an illusion in the desert.
Yeah, it's it's literally is like a phantom. It's a phantom effect. It's nonsense that we were given. But then it's weird too, because we could say that, but at the same time, we have seen stuff like this happen, and we don't know if this is priestcraft, like some sort of black magic.
What if you keep doing it? So it's like one mirrors the other for a certain set of timeline for 100 years, 200 years, but then you keep doing it for the next 100 years, the next 200 years, and you mimic these events, catastrophes. We know this is what happened last time.
Yeah, so they're artificially creating then the time, because in the theory with I think the phantom timelines that are matching in the like the two different periods of the Greek history is more like one family in a more recent history basically just made the whole thing up based on, and they mixed in some real events that they knew about from other cultures or from like the cultures that were around before theirs. They put it into their own history and then they distributed it to the public as if it was ancient Greek history.
Right.
Which I could totally see that happening. That's how you get power, because you control the past, you control the present, and then you control the future. But like for us,
it's like the Mandela effect too.
Yeah. Exactly.
It creates like fucked up people. It really splits people.
Yeah, because it's caused a dissociation. But for us, like we have Lincoln, who is like really oddly connected to JFK, who's really oddly then connected, I think, even to Trump, right? Isn't there this weird three-way connection between them, or was it just Lincoln and JFK?
I think it keeps going. I don't think it stops.
But there's so that's what I'm saying. Like, so then what happens there? Because we do have most of that history we have, like with at least we should know the correct name of Lincoln's secretary, and that it was Kennedy, and Kennedy's secretary was Lincoln, or whatever the hell that is. Like, is that all just put in there as a like after the fact, or was that not the case? I think we should at least have that documented. So
you would think so, but even paper documents could have been forged. So it's just.
I mean, the thing is, there's at least still family members of JFK to where they could be like, no, that never happened. But who knows? They could be part of the. They obviously are part of the show, but
yeah, you got to lie to keep the position.
So maybe it could all be a lie. Yeah, I guess it could be. Yeah,
but
that's
I would
why.
think like a lot of this stuff is all. It doesn't matter Doesn't matter if the stories are true, if they're not. Doesn't matter if it's in the book, not in the book.
Well, eventually we're going to start manifesting it, right? Because
well, not even that. What I think is because you create the split, just the fact that there's two different timelines, two different histories, right? And you create a truther community like we have, and the docile mass population. It doesn't matter. What you're going to create is the two extremes, just like the picture showing. And it's going to divide people in such a way that it creates all these, intricacies and inner disruptive personalities. Like it's split personality disorder, multiple personality disorder, bipolar disorder. To me, they're all the same thing. It's all one thing.
I get what you're saying.
Mind disorder. Your brain is fractured into multiple fragments, and like you have key words that are signaling you to be one person or the other.
To give you to bring out your alters.
Right.
And then you drink from the cup, baby. You drink from the cup.
Well, now it's like, I mean, what household can you not walk into and there's some news station on? And and also they're repeating certain words all the time, and that's it. That'll trigger people. They won't even notice it. It'll be in their subconscious. They're not watching the TV. They don't even know it's on. They walk into the house. They hear the words. Boom.
That's sort of what I meant by like we're gonna manifest it, because it's like the information is being put into the subconscious mind, which eventually it becomes a physical expression, even if it's not. Even if they don't know they're doing it, because these people then believe certain things, and there's even splits in households now. So it's like, I mean, we have just like it said at the beginning in the first paragraph of that Ruben Vase wiki, it said that they were bistable two-dimensional forms. We have bistable households. We have a bistable country right now with two different views of reality. So yeah, you're right. It is just gonna keep perpetuating itself at this point.
Is like, all right, so it's Ruben. What was the name of the?
Ruben Vase.
Ruben Vase. Okay, that's the name of the vase. Have you ever heard of the Rube Goldberg system?
I'm not sure. Do you have it? Can you pull it up?
Yeah. I think it's Rube Goldberg. It's something like that. That's why I know it's Rube Goldberg machine.
Rube Goldberg machine. Why does that sound so familiar?
Well, it's a competition in a lot of colleges. Chain reaction type machine or contraption intentionally designed to perform a simple task in comically overcomplicated way.
Can you share it?
Yeah. Just like the Wikipedia something. Where did I put it? Just in comments?
Oh, I was going to say just share it do the share screen thing that you were doing before.
Oh, okay.
And I'll just pop it up.
Great. Got too many things open.
If you want, you could put it in the comments, because I could remove that, because I could put it up on mine.
Well, it's saying like select. Oh, there we go.
There we go. Oh, Jesus, like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids style right there.
A little bit. But this whole thing, this is like a huge competition among universities, vocational schools, like all sorts of things at this point.
That's weird. That's a weird thing that the names are so close, isn't it?
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like Rube Goldberg. I always wondered where the name came from. And that's like while I was, acting in these competitions, I was like, who came up with this? Like, who's Rube Goldberg? I don't think that's a real person.
And
Like,
of course, he has a sickle and pendulum and all these other things mentioned in that machine,
Oh yeah.
like we were mentioning before.
But this is like a huge competition amongst universities across the United States.
That reminds me of the scene too from Back to the Future, where Doc is like, isn't he like opening up his can of dog food?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that would be a Rube Goldberg machine. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang was almost all Rube Goldberg machines. Like all of his inventions and machines, which he had the video recorder in it, which like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang came out in the 1950s.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't very, film wasn't like a very big thing yet. So he had film, photography, cooking breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and a whole bunch of other simple daily tasks that he had built all into Rube Goldberg machines. Like that's the entire point of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. The car Chitty Chitty Bang Bang is a Rube Goldberg machine.
Isn't there a song with that? Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, No So Rang Rang, Charlie Charlie Ruchi, Chick Cherry, something. What the hell is that from? Is that from the movie?
That's from the movie.
Okay. How the hell do I know that? It's like I've obviously been programmed with this song because it's in my subconscious from when I was a child.
I would think you also know Singing in the Rain pretty well.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I could Singing in the Rain, blah, blah, blah.
The same.
Yeah, I might just know that one line in it, but I kind of know. I would know it if I heard it better.
Well, that's what I mean. Every time I watch the movie, and then it's like, oh yeah, I knew every word. Like if I watch it right now, I'll know all the words all of a sudden.
Yeah.
I was born in the 80s, right?
Yeah, late 80s for me. I shouldn't know.
I'm 89.
Yeah, so both of us are on the same thing. Then we both shouldn't be knowing no Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I'll tell you that much.
But those are 1950s movies, and the songs, the tones that they use in them are the same tones in the top 10 songs of the Billboard charts every year.
Get out of here.
They always have been. Yeah.
Really?
It's the same tones in Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, same tones in the ABCs, the same tones in Row 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 Your Boat. All those songs.
Row Your Boat, created by Mason out of Philadelphia, I think around Pennsylvania near the Susquehanna.
You might as well just say Roman.
Yeah.
Row 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 Your Boat. It's all Roman programming. And that's what I was always curious about with like the whole Greek thing. Because even in all the storytelling of the Romans and the Greeks and Spartacus, Hercules, whoever, Archimedes, like all these people, that's where I give a lot of credence to like the whole Greek thing was made up into it.
Yep. There's something real shady about it. That's what I don't know if did I discuss this with you? I keep forgetting that people I've discussed this with.
I think we touched on it just like right now, but
me and Gabe did, I think, a lot. Me and Gabe and PK might have did a longer episode on it. And I know I did something maybe with one other, maybe Silas, maybe I cannot remember at this point. Maybe Ronan even, but
the biggest indicator to me that has been the most bothersome. Right, like it irks you. It's something where like you watch movies, you read books, you go through all these stories, and there's something that's just like, this doesn't seem right. They seem to always do this one thing, and it doesn't feel right.
Yep.
Well, with the Greeks and the Romans in particular, they made to be out like this masculine, like the Spartans. The Spartans are kind of like the edifice of the Roman Empire, right? Hardcore soldiers beat each other up. War is a beautiful death, etc., etc.
Aside from them banging each other in the butt.
Well, and I was about to say that's the part that's skimmed over.
Yeah.
In the Roman literature, But in any other literature about Romans, they talk about, oh yeah, they were banging each other, and if you're a senior in the higher ranks of the military, you bang the lower ranks.
This seems like the
Yeah,
when in Rome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's like the way to go in Rome. But they were never gay, right?
Yeah, it
They
was
were
always
kind of
just
like the
like a dom.
macho. We're not gay. We don't have our women around, so this is what we do.
Yeah, it was a dominance thing, they say too.
But with the Greeks, it's like an openly, all the Greeks were gay, right?
Yeah.
Like
They
in
obviously
every story, even in the super masculine ones, the main dude like loves his boy cousin.
Yep, they always have a little boy toy that they're teaching, and then they're having relations with, and they love.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like the Romans took their gay nostalgia they were given, and they were like, yeah, we're going to make up this other group of people who never existed, and they're going to be the ones who are gay. And it's almost like their secondary personality that they created into the Greeks.
That's what I was talking about when I was talking with Gabe about it. I was like, okay. I think the Greek culture is almost like a memory palace, like an occult kind of grimoire of like just a way for the social engineers to just keep all of their secrets hidden in a culture that never existed,
or that got eliminated.
Yeah, I mean, it exists. Obviously, there are Greek people now, but.
Right.
But it's just the ancient Greek is very yeah. Who knows what that? I honestly
don't
have no
even
idea.
Know what the hell we are at this
exactly.
point.
Exactly. Who knows? But I mean, the ancient Greeks. It doesn't make sense. The story seems like a lie.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, aside from hiding a way to hide things, but it seems like a lie. There's just too much oddity. Like why? It's like also there's a lot of similarities to some of the stories about the sea people and the mountain people who would come in and take over a falling civilization, and then they would take the name of the civilization, kind of like the Greeks were okay with changing their names to the Romans, like
right.
Yeah, especially when they were supposed to be a soup like this, because it's different if you're being destroyed by like a civilization, by a greater civilization than yours, and you're like, sure, yeah, we'll be called the Romans to stop killing everyone. But if you're supposed to be this super advanced, more advanced culture than the one that you're fighting against, who the hell is going to be like that okay with changing your entire identity? No one.
Yeah, we conquered the Greeks, and they just turned over to our arms. It's like, what?
Yeah, I don't know about that. And then you guys couldn't build the same. You couldn't build like the buildings got less advanced, just like in Egypt. Just like everywhere else, like everything started getting worse.
Things just got worse in general.
And then the Greek language doesn't evolve at all. Basically, it barely evolves compared to I think the English language has evolved something like 8 or 10 times more in its short little existence than the Greek has in its entire existence. It makes no sense.
Right. And they had more opportunity to actually be able to evolve the language.
Well, all of the language should change. It seems like the average is around like language changes a lot usually as you move forward in time, and people continue to use it as long as it doesn't die. And apparently the Greek language is still alive today, so it shouldn't be as similar as it is to the ancient Greek, and it's almost the exact same.
I think it was an existing group that the Romans utilized as a kind of self-defense mechanism for all the bad shit that was talked about them. They projected it onto this group, which they controlled. Or
but the weird thing is, it's like I don't know if it's the Romans who meant to the Greeks. Part of me thinks it's the Greeks who just took the identity of the Romans immediately, and then
that too,
because look at all of we still have all these Greek fraternal orders that are around. it never went away. Why? They're not Roman fraternal, they're Greek fraternal orders.
Yeah, I know, but they all worship Roman deities.
Yeah, it's like a mix. I mean, and maybe that's the thing. It might not be
And
either.
that was the whole thing that, like, when I was in the Greek societies, right?
You were like, this isn't Greek.
Yeah, like the whole time I was like, this is Roman or Middle Eastern. Like it wasn't even Roman. It was, we were doing like Middle Eastern practices, and I'm
think about
everyone like, do you guys know?
Look at the Masons.
Know Christianity? Because that's most of the Greek here are Christians.
Yeah, and look at the Masons. They all swear on the Quran, which that should tell you something about the Quran, because I think the Quran is similar. There's something going on with the Quran where it's...
So the top symbol in the coat of arms of my fraternity, which is LXA, which stands for Light of Christ, which is Christian, the top symbol on the top of the, coat of arms shield is a lamp. The fucking Aladdin lamp.
Yeah.
And like the whole time this was like the one symbol they talked about that was like, yeah, this is solidified in this is the heart, right? This is the main part. It's like, well, that's a Middle Eastern Aladdin lamp.
And what I think we're really looking at is like this, these Amorites, these Moors, these whatever the hell whatever culture was surviving from the fall
either
of
Babylonian or Mesopotamian
empire. Either Babylon or whatever, even survived from Atlantis, if there was an Atlantis, whatever the hell Atlantis was.
And the Atlantis and the lamp go together real well. So
because think about it,
you well and live right now. They always talk about it being dead. It would one. I think that's actually running the show.
Well, that's what they're trying to. I think they're just trying to wait for everyone to accept their rebuilding of it.
Yeah.
I mean, they saw New Atlantis, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, if you think about all these sea peoples going around, I'm sure they just went to the Greeks and Romans, if there were even Greeks and Romans, and they just started inventing shit based on their old history, mixing stuff with the stuff that they were finding the locals. I mean, it does really sound very much like they were the sea peoples and just integrating into all these cultures and taking them over. And
like the sea people, I think about this in the same concept of like northern and southern people and the northern hemisphere, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the northern people, you have 6 to 9 months of winter. You have to learn. You have to prepare. You have to be built up in a certain way to survive the winter months, to get to the summer, to grow again, to survive the winter. You like, there's a need. It's a necessity that you have to be prepared. If you live down in the southern hemisphere, or by the equator, I should say, of whatever the shape of the earth is, well, it's warm all year. You don't have to worry about shit ever.
Yep.
Like, you just, as long as you have a source of water, food's almost growing year round, you don't have to do anything. You're going to just naturally become lazy. Any of us would. It doesn't matter who you are, where you are, color of your skin, yada, yada. Like, if you're down in that region, you don't have to do much. You wake up in the morning, there's fresh water in the stream, there's coconuts on the tree. Anything else, I'm just using those as like the tropic examples,
Yeah.
It's like that stuff's there. Okay, well, up here in the north you don't. The same thing happens if you're like in the east and west, as opposed, what type of wildlife are you dealing with? The types of crops that are grown, the types of, culture you're going to end up building based around the things you're seeing around you. Right? Like, it's
exactly, dude.
It's going to morph and change, and like you were saying with the language and stuff, like the language is constantly going to change. Always. It doesn't matter which one you use. Like, it's just going to evolve. There's things that are going to happen.
And then for some reason the Greek just hasn't. It's
Well,
almost
yeah,
like
it
it's
just
almost like it's
existed for hundreds of years and nothing ever changed.
yeah,
You know,
or it was like a later invention used to freaking just talk, and like I guess maybe used as a could have been used as like a cryptographic sort of way of speaking to your brothers and your
well, I think
brotherhood.
so. I mean,
I
when
mean,
you
look,
write out the Greek letters in Greek, like GRECK or CK or whichever way,
mhm,
they're all runic letters.
yeah, exactly.
You know, they
They're
fit
like
into Latin.
it's like a sigil. It's like you're making sigils. It's like a very, it's
Yeah.
like a linguistic form of magic at that point. And it's strange because PK pulled up a clip of Boris Johnson speaking like reciting the Odyssey by memory in Greek, and I looked at him
By
totally
Homer.
by Homer. I looked at what's his name, Boris Johnson, who seems like he's an idiot, but then
He
seeing
is.
him do that, I was like, oh shit. I was like, shit. That was my first thought. I was like, oh fuck.
Yeah,
Because
but
you
is he
realize
actually smart? Is he actually?
it doesn't matter even if he's smart, but it just shows you that he's not as dumb as you think, and he's also been trained, like very heavily trained, and it's not that's you can't say it's a conspiracy because who the hell's gonna have the fucking time to learn the entire Odyssey in Greek when you're British? Like it's like who are these families grooming these people? That's like pretty insane.
Well, I mean, take a series like I mean, shit. We could go back to the Manchurian Candidate, but I would even say like Jason Bourne.
Mm-hmm. But the Jason group is still around too, I think.
But even just the concept, like I think a lot of people, I try to look at it from the docile point of view, right? Where it's like I'm just some person in the society and I'm just accepting everything and not questioning.
Yeah.
When I look at this stuff and like look at Jason Bourne, I'm glancing over all the action and his bullshit training and being able to kill people in 150,000 different ways. Don't care about that. The main storyline is about this guy who was an orphan, just like any other super secret spy, orphaned, taken into this agency. Millions of dollars were put into it, or billions, to train this person to be like an ultimate assassin, and then they send them out into the world. To me, it's just you're already showing this in this Hollywood major motion picture for everyone to see. And to me, it's like you're showing your secrets. Like you're basically showing, look, like we spent millions and billions of dollars into these people. Black ops or not, against the American public's knowledge or not, we're going to do it. They're already showing you that in a major motion picture.
And now it's on
That's only
Wikipedia.
that's only scratching the surface.
Yeah.
To me, that's only like this is just what they're showing you. You know,
Oh wait.
this is a couple pieces of
What,
like
what was
the
that guy?
entire
What was that guy's name? Goldberger, the one you just had up for the other thing, or was it Goldberg?
Rube Goldberg.
Oh, so we have a Goldberger in the Jason group over here. But yeah, I mean it's right here. Like they have,
Yeah, there you go.
You know, they're a group of elite scientists who advise the United States government on things of a sensitive nature. They're military focused. Interests include health informatics, cyber warfare, renewable energy. It's unclassified apparently, but I doubt we'd be able to get our hands on much of it.
And even if you did, it half's redacted. What are they actually sending to you?
Exactly.
In the PDF? There's too many questions around the entirety of it.
But like you're saying, they were telling us what the movie, and it wasn't a joke. Look, Project Seafarer. That's interesting too.
Well, it's got to have the maritime terms.
Yeah, but yeah, they're around. This is not like this stuff exists in one way or another.
Well, and even think about this. I think what it is like the people who were controlling the ships of the oceans at any given time actually had total control.
Yeah.
For two reasons. One, they can actually travel between all the places. Can't really beat that. I mean, unless you have the air travel and all that kind of stuff. So the pirates were basically running everything.
Yep.
Always. They still are to this day. They've just came onto the land, right? You have courts, you have police, you have yada yada. Those are all just extensions of pirate ships.
And dude, this actually right here, this guy, he came up with the Onassis guy as one of the people connected to him, and they were all, like I said, they were in shipping, and they were in
shipping,
an airliner, an air and aeros. Why do I keep forgetting the term for it?
Aeronautics.
Not aeronautic. Is that for even developing airliners? It's aeronautics.
Aeronautics is like all the study of anything.
Every time I forget it, I feel like I'm an idiot because I know it, and I'm sure there's another term I'm looking for here. But yeah, I mean these guys all
aerodynamics would be the other one.
Might be aerodynamics, but yeah, they're basically they're making planes and ships, and they control the sky and the sea.
Right.
And that's all they need. Because that means they can get anywhere they want.
Well, it's the land that actually has the power, though. But because these are all seafaring organizations, or air, or transport, you got to think they're confined to the smallest spaces ever on the planet of Earth. Like they're shipping captains, they're quartered within
yeah.
They don't have space. Space is the most valuable thing in the world to them. You know, everyone thinks gold is, right? Pirates and booty and gold and treasure chest and yada yada. No, it's the fact that they can get the treasure to be able to buy the land. They're trying to take over the land, which happened. It's already here.
Like, we're
sea
screwed.
Pirates have been running the land for at least 400 years, we could guess.
That's why we got the little gold stripe around the American flag usually.
Right. Like it's all maritime bullshit. That's why I was always asking the question when we were kids about this whole if you go 13 miles off the coast of any country, you're in international waters. And now basically everything in the world is legal again, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what? Illegality doesn't exist out in the ocean. But on the land, it does. That already tells you within itself, right there. The sea is controlling the land. The sea has no law. The land has all the laws.
Exactly. And then there was something I was just watching, and Maggie was asking me like, how could they do that? And I was like, oh, they're in the ocean, like right off the coast of the Bahamas, like far enough to where no one can stop them from doing that. That's how they could do it. I can't remember what the hell it was about now, though. Damn it.
But I mean, they still made it impossible to the point of, like, me and you could never afford a ship that's at least a decent enough size to even go over there out to the Bahamas.
Oh, yeah, hell no.
Make an attack or something, right?
I mean, we'll get attacked by someone, I'm sure. Like Captain
we'll get
Phillips.
Shot before we get there.
Captain Phillips will come after us with his band of Somali pirates and his little group of children he has in his undercarriage of a ship.
The 6-year-olds that are trained in hand-to-hand combat and fighting.
Oh
yeah.
But yeah, it's dude. We're not in a good spot, and I don't know how the hell this happened, and our ancestors allowed it, and it's kind of disappointing. But at the same time, we're allowing it to happen. So.
Well, I think they were sold a crock of shit.
Yeah.
I think we're dealing with the after effects of it, and they didn't know till it was too late.
And really, some of these assholes who probably weren't in these elite families, I'm sure there were a few of these scientists. They should have did something, and they didn't.
No, they kept going.
Yeah,
take the paycheck and be quiet.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
there's so many
it's
people.
It's called Project 137.
I saw that.
All the things to call it.
I saw that.
137.
I saw that. I tried looking into this with Emily on one of our shows, and there wasn't much that we could find about it, actually.
It's all in mathematics.
Yeah.
137, 1 over 37, 37 to 1. 37 times 73 is 2701, which is the geometric value of Genesis 1:1.
And 5858 was were they doing nuclear stuff around this time? When was the Manhattan Project? What's the years of Manhattan Project?
I thought Manhattan was the 40s.
That's what I thought too. So this is going to be after, but I'm guessing it's kind of like a continuation.
Yeah.
With this Jason group, yeah.
A lot of things are too.
Yeah, and I mean the nuclear thing. I feel like was one of the less important things, honestly, that came out of that whole thing. It seems like they were getting into plasma and all the. I mean, that's why I have a feeling New Jersey is being mentioned even here, because New Jersey is where all these aerospace companies are that are messing around with plasma physics. That's why I think you had those drones over New Jersey.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I mean, I had found out about that after, but living out there for so long, it actually makes sense. There's so many huge companies in New Jersey. It's just such a small state that no one ever thinks about it.
Well, all those states out there.
Yeah.
Massachusetts. That's a weird place. And
Jersey itself is such an occult. There's like an occult, so much symbolism in the name and in the. It's like a copy of the island of Jersey, obviously.
Well, it's part of the original 13, and it's got the new in the name, right? You got New Mexico, New Jersey, and New York.
And good old Crowley put his ashes there, which is interesting too.
Yeah.
In Summit, New Jersey.
I think the new title is also NEU, not NEW.
Yeah.
It's that weird.
And you know who else? A lot of the people who actually got a lot of land in New Jersey were pirates. That's the one thing I had seen. They have all these like statues to Captain Cook, and there's a few different.
Well, and so then it gets a lot of the gay stuff too. You got the Jersey Boys and West Side Story. I think was all based out of there.
Well, West Side Story. I think does that come out from New York?
Might be, but you still had the plays were showing in New Jersey.
Yeah, it's still close, and the Italian culture that's from New Jersey was often represented in those. Yeah.
And it ties the Italians to the French, because you had everything from France was all about new. The Statue of Liberty was new.
And look at even not to bring up what's it called, the one with Travolta, Saturday Night Fever.
What, Fever or Dirty Dancing?
Saturday Night Fever. Sammy might as well be the same thing, right? I mean, you have him dancing in these gay clubs, basically, that everyone doesn't think are gay at the time, and he is actually a gay man.
That makes sense now
and he's a Scientologist.
It makes sense with Footloose now.
Yeah.
Now I see why they kept redoing Footloose.
So then you also have him as a Scientologist, and apparently all this alter programming that MK Ultra and the rest of these mind control programs use comes out of, or at least is influenced by, their agent that created Scientology.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I think we're going to be seeing more of coming up, honestly.
Well, I mean, Scientology really took over many years ago, and I don't think anyone's talking about that.
No, but I think they're gonna be, because if they keep pushing this alien stuff, with this UFO stuff, UAP, whatever the hell, different acronyms they're coming up with. Scientology is going to make its way back into things. Because it might rebrand. It might be more of like a Christian.
No. I think it'll. Well, yeah, it's already rebranded as Christian.
Like a Christian sci-fi type of thing. Like a. I don't even know how to explain it, but it'll be just.
They'll stay steady. So like all the Scientology movies are still doing well right now. That's the only one
right?
Doing
well. Yeah. Well, I mean, the actors who are Scientologists are still doing well.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, and you have Cruise incorporating aspects of both Christianity and AI within
Mission Impossible.
Mission Impossible. So, like, I mean, he's
Travolta's still been alive and well the whole time too.
Yeah, but he's backed out of things. I think probably for a variety of reasons. Tom Cruise seems to be the guy who's they're gonna let take some of the reins.
Okay, but Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer were doing their Top Gun stuff too.
And Top Gun too, yeah. And then and then apparently Lady Gaga gets one of her songs on the Top Gun soundtrack for the new Top Gun because she had heard that the old Top Gun was supposed to be some sort of a gay homosexual metaphor.
Which it was.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's her who's wanting to be involved with it or her producers who are telling her to be. And I think I actually heard this on the Occult Rejects. So that's not me. It was either them or it was Think Tank. So that's not my information, but that's solid information if it checks out.
No, it's still just anything she's been in.
It definitely was Think Tank because they were talking about the new Joker movie. Yeah, and her role in it and how it was like the one guy I think who's on that channel, I can't remember, Xerxes is his name, I think, or Xerxes. I can't pronounce it. But he says he thinks Joker 2 is underrated because it actually was like a piece of art used to destroy or begin the destruction of the superhero genre, which it could have been.
Much.
Like obviously most of this destruction's being done on purpose, but I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing for us right now.
Well, and I think they already did that wrong.
Because
if you want to destroy a superhero, dress them in green. Everybody knows that.
Ryan Reynolds could have told you that. And the thing is, like, I mean, I guess because he had mentioned, the guy on that channel mentioned that, what's his name? Tarantino said that 3 bad superhero movies is all it would take to tank the industry of the whole superhero industry. But we've had 3 bad ones, and I just think it's still going because they need 3 bad ones like in a row.
Well, and I think Tarantino has always known that.
Yeah.
He directed a film called 4 Rooms. You ever see it?
I haven't seen it, but is this something that he kind of did that sort of same type of thing in that I was just talking about?
Well, it's like, it's got that going on. It's got like multiple stories going on, like most of his films, right?
Because I think that guy Xerxes. I wish I knew the guy's name. From the guy
Xerxes is the king leader of the Middle Eastern reign.
Yeah, no. I'm talking about the guy who runs that channel, Think Tank.
Okay.
He's one of the guys, one of the 2. He has the longer hair. He's a nice guy. I think his name is Xerxes or something. It looks like that's what his name is on his name tag. But
it's probably what it is. It's probably Xerxes after the.
But I think he was saying it was either Tarantino. If it wasn't him, it was another director who had made a film that basically helped destroy the whole musical sort of all the musical films that were being made because
the one that did Mean Girls again, I think.
Is that the guy?
Yeah, because that totally destroyed everything about the music.
But this had happened like back in the day, even before we were like really old enough. Yeah, we were probably too young to even realize it was happening.
Well, I mean, you had High School Musical was like.
Yeah, it was before that. It was before that. It was like back in the day when musicals were huge. No, before I'm saying it was like probably when our parents were kids and musicals were huge for like I don't know 10 years, 5 years.
Degrassi.
Way before. Like I'm saying, like back in the 50s, 60s, there might have been like a time when musicals were getting big, and then some director came in, made something in one of his first movies, and basically it was so bad that everyone's taste for musicals died out before our time. And I don't know if he was saying it was Tarantino. It might be too early to be Tarantino because I know he's not too. He hasn't been around too long.
Late 80s.
Yeah. And maybe it was late 80s that would have happened, but I don't think it was. I think it was before that.
It might have been early 80s.
But what is this for? What is this 4-room film?
Oh, 4 Rooms is God, what's his name?
Yeah, let me look it up.
Tim Rothman. Tim Rothman's the main character, and he's a bellhop for this hotel.
Oh, this is directed by 4 different people.
Yeah, but I think Tarantino is kind of your main. He acts in it too, right? Like just like most of his movies, but he's actually in the 4th room at the very end, and he's like the Hollywood star, right? Every time that Tim Rothman as the bellhop enters a room, they have like the black screen, right? Like it's a no sound film.
Okay.
And shows you hey, room 201. And it says the witch's cavern. That's how it starts off. He goes into this room of witches, and then each one's displayed here, right? The missing ingredient in that one, the wrong man in room 404.
Which 404 is insanely relevant. Yeah,
numbers are always tied into it for sure. The man from Hollywood is Quentin Tarantino. So when he shows up in the room, it's Quentin Tarantino and then a handful of other decently well-known celebrities. Bruce Willis is one of them, which I couldn't even recognize him at the beginning because like the whole time they have it obscured and whatever. But basically, like within in that whole sequence of events, like you have each of the 4 possibilities of just like the elements. Earth, wind, water.
That's why I think this is a good place to probably weave things back to the beginning and wrap it up. It's perfect.
I've never even seen this movie until last week. I watched it last
I'm gonna have to watch it now.
Yeah, I was gonna watch it again too because it's one of those movies where it's like you watch it once and you don't really understand what happened. You have to watch it again, and then even still, it's kind of like what? Like the dialogue's so quick, right?
Yeah.
So in Tim Rothman, he's very good at doing all that kind of stuff. So I see why he was picked for the film. But he jumps in and he's basically like the innocent bellhop the whole time, right? He's going to the rooms, he's trying to service everyone, and they're just the most insane, extreme, right? One room's complete fire, one room's water.
Okay.
One room's earth. It's very
so it's
grounded.
like it's a whole ritual. The film's a ritual.
Oh, it even starts off with a ritual with the witches.
Basically like the weird witches, and they're the 3 witches from Macbeth, right?
Yep, but they have 4.
Oh, okay.
And one of the witches is a virgin, and she has to sleep with someone, and she didn't. And so when the bellhop shows up, well, that's the ritual now has to be performed, and here's the bellhop who's a man.
And what does he die? Do they take his soul like they did in that cartoon?
No, they just sleep with him. She takes his semen and pours it into a hot tub in the room.
Basically the same thing.
Yeah. No. And it like wraps around at the end, like after he does his thing with Hollywood and blah blah blah, and he's trying to quit. He runs into one of the witches. They say a little dialogue, and he goes on.
And you even have freaking Madonna in this. Jesus Christ, man.
Oh yeah. No,
Yeah,
there's like that's one of those movies where I was like, how the hell did I miss this one? Right? Like I was
yeah.
5 when this came out, but and so were you. But
You have the Edison reference here, so you have all like
oh
the
yeah,
energy. Yeah, this is wild. Damn, I'm gonna have to watch this. I mean, and it also reminds me just like The Room in general. That's the silly movie, The Room.
yeah.
And I'm sure that's also a ritual in one way or another, even if they didn't know it at the time. Even though, but that guy being from Romania, which I think he's from, I'm not sure if he's from Romania. He seems like he is. It would make me think it might have been a ritual.
Oh yeah. I mean, the whole movie is each room he goes into is like a ritual. Like it's its own little for him for the bellhop.
Yeah.
And that's when you're reading any story or watching any story, you're watching out of the perspective of the main person.
Yep.
So
Yep.
like you're performing the rituals. It's walking you through, each step.
4 rooms. Yeah, no, that's freaking.
No, I know. It confounded me, right? Because Tim Rothman is who I was looking up. I've seen a lot of his movies. I actually watched a lot of his movies before this, and that's why I was kind of like, how did I never hear of this one? Yeah, but yeah, very eccentric actor.
See,
the way that he plays the
I
role.
would almost wonder if like the 5th element is really the room, the newer room, the
Right.
absurdity that's in the new room. I don't know.
Well, and I would think that's shown when he's sitting at the front desk. The new room is the lobby. So the new room, that's like where the main set is, right? That's the main. He's standing up at the front desk right at the beginning. The old bellhop is explaining to him what the rules are and how to do this stuff and blah, blah, blah. And then he takes off and you have him sitting in the new room right at the start. And then he goes to the honeymoon suite. He's the missing ingredient for the witch's coven. When he goes to the next one, I don't know whatever's next. You got the honeymoon, then the misbehaviors.
Well, and then he meets the man from Hollywood.
Well, and that's the last room. Meet the man from Hollywood. But then after that room's finished, he ends up back at the front desk before he actually quits and walks out of the place. It's almost like you're mind mapped how to get out of the prison, right?
Well, see, what I mean by the new room is the film, The Room, that stupid film, The Room with Tommy Wiseau, is like the 5th, is like maybe the absurdist 5th element. And now I don't know if there's enough symbolism in that.
I always saw it was as the lobby, which is the point. So like in
and I have to watch this film because I don't know what happens in it, and I could totally be.
Yeah.
It was interesting that this is like such an apparently like it's presented in an absurdist style, kind of like The Room is.
But the first game that ever had an Easter egg in it, right? Adventure.
Yeah.
On Atari. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, if you beat the game, you actually lose. The way to win the game, quote unquote, is to actually wander around the game and play it for what it is and find this random dark room behind a hidden wall that has the first hidden Easter egg in it ever in any video game, right? I think Adventure came out in 1974. This movie released in 1994, 20 years later. The whole idea of the movie is to find the hidden Easter egg in it, right? That's the 5th point, which is like the lobby. That's why I'm saying it that way.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely have to see it so I know what's going on.
And then you can just watch it, and it's like a slapstick comedy. That's the thing about it. It's entirely slapstick. Tim Rothman's just fucking goofy the whole time. all the characters he runs into. The room before the Man from Hollywood, the kids or whatever it's called, the
misbehaviors.
misbehaviors. That's where he has to like the the parents of the room want him to be a babysitter for the kids in the room while they go out and party.
Okay.
So they want like
okay.
the bellhop to play the babysitter for him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he starts off with offering him $100. He says no. He starts going for 300, goes to 300, and then it ends up going to 500, right? Like, and it's kind of this back and forth thing. The main character, the parent of room 404 for the misbehaviors, is Antonio Banderas.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, and that's who they have them two going back and forth about all this stuff, right? With the between the numbers of the room and the numbers of the price for watching the kids, right? And that's 135 for watching the kids. The number of the room is 404. And I'm pretty sure it's the wrong man. That's what he shows up in the wrong man situation, but ends up in the misbehaviors.
Okay. Yeah, I have to watch this. This is freaking blowing my mind,
and that's
dude.
where it's like, to me, it was like that. That's where you have. It's hard to explain, but with that square of the fire and ice and the earth and air.
Dude, I mean, that's 100%. That's here.
Yeah, you had the fire and ice happening to create the earth and air. The earth and air is like the job being done and the money being given, right? But the money is actually the water, and the job being done is actually the fire. And like that's why that square has the arrows going in a circle. You know, it's
And this 404 is fascinating too, with it being like a dead internet website.
Yeah.
There's so much here. Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch this, dude.
Oh, I watched it. When I watched it last week, I was sitting there just like, oh my God, how did I never see this? You know, like I know half the people in the movie.
Even this
like,
misbehaviors, maybe like misbehavers or something with the bees there. The room 309, 39, 93 is the Crowley
the
current.
Husband. Okay, yeah, the misbehaviors is the kids.
And there's a Crowley current all in there.
So the room with the misbehaviors, 309, there's a dead hooker underneath the bed.
Yep, I see, and it's set to an adult channel. Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah, that sounds very Crowley-esque.
So the kids do all sorts of bad stuff, but they moved the bed eventually because, like, the whole time everyone keeps talking about a bad smell. Well, eventually the kids are like, it's coming from under the bed. And they move the bed, and there's a dead hooker, like, carved out into the floor.
Jesus.
Yeah, and they start calling down, and Tim Roth is, like, being a shitty babysitter at that point. So he's just like, I'm not coming up. If there's not a dead hooker up there, I'm gonna kill you. Put you under the bed. Yeah.
I think it's crazy too how you get a little cameo by what's his name? Die Hard. What a Die Hard in it. What the hell's his name? Yeah, because I mean that points
he plays like a full role.
And like, he's I don't know why he goes uncredited for some reason, but like you said, he's in it, and I mean that points to Fifth Element as well. Like like you're saying, there's a fifth element, and within the film at least, like that he eventually goes on to participate in archetypally, I think.
Well, the Fifth Element came out the next year.
Oh, that makes perfect sense then.
Yeah, so he was filming 4 rooms.
And his name's Leo, so we have the sun sign all wrapped up in there. Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, his whole big thing, like when the bellboy gets up there and gets to that room, Bruce Willis's character doesn't really play a big role at first. He's just in the other room, and you can hear him screaming back and forth with his wife on the phone, right? And so, like, the whole event, the whole night of when Tim Rothman takes on this bellboy position is New Year's night. So it's like a New Year's Eve party is going on in every room, or the people are leaving to go to a New Year's party. So when he goes to meet the man from Hollywood, he meets Quentin Tarantino, but it's Bruce Willis the entire time in the background in this other bedroom that's like got an open door, and he's walking back and forth screaming at his wife about how he can't come home, which is like a reference to Die Hard.
Yeah,
Right?
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and so it has all these like weird ties going on. He's still got like the goofy mustache, just like he did in Die Hard.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
a little Mexican stash growing in, and he's got blonde hair the whole time. Tarantino's got like some spiked blonde in his hair.
That's wild. Yeah, no, this is definitely. I'm gonna have to watch this, dude. But I love the. I think this ties right back into what you were talking about at the beginning with the elements, and I think what we're viewing here, like we were saying, this is a ritual,
Big
and we should be on the lookout because I think we're about to be seeing many more of these.
Well, it's enacting real changes.
Yeah,
I've seen it in my industry from my personal perspective of it.
I've seen it here.
Yeah, there's just all this stuff happening where I don't even know if I'm going to have a job for the next 5 years. Not doing what I'm doing, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, all of us need to be very, very wary of that and make sure we have something else to back up what the hell we're
I've
doing
already
now.
been looking the whole time.
Yeah.
It's not like I haven't. I just, at this point, I'm actually going to have to start accepting phone calls and talking to agencies and other people and what's going on.
Damn, man.
Well, I mean, this stuff was bound to happen. I thought it was going to happen 10 years ago or 15.
Yeah. No, I mean, and geez, look at the people who are doing like graphic design work. I mean, they're probably
freaking out.
They definitely didn't expect it to hit them.
Well, I mean, the whole time though is what did you think was going to happen when you have artificial? You call it artificial intelligence. I call it stacked algorithms.
You know what they're calling it right now? They started trying to call it synthetic intelligence. I think is what they're. It's like they're saying it or synthetic. They almost doubled. Like it's like a double. They're basically repeating the word synthetic twice, but it's synthetic something intelligence. And now I can't remember what the second word was.
I mean, I know it was AGI and API before.
They were calling it synthetic sentience. That's what they're calling it. Synthetic sentience, which is like that's the same thing as artificial intelligence, but you're just saying synthetic and why? I don't understand what the hell that's all about, but there's something there. I'm just too tired right now to even think about it.
Well, I think it just has to do with the split.
Well, they're also it's implying consciousness too, like it's trying to sneak that in there. Sentience is kind of consciousness, I think.
Right.
But if they say synthetic before it, then it's not as big of a deal. But I don't know. There's something to look out for too, because I heard them starting to use that.
All synthetic or artificial. Even natural and Black's legal law dictionary basically means synthetic. I mean,
yeah, that's from that too. So if that means synthetic, then like, what are they really saying?
Right. Well, that's what I would say. Why I always called it stacked algorithms. Like
and that's what you're right.
It's not really intelligence. It's just a whole bunch of if-and statements all stacked on top of each other. And when you ask it a question, it runs it through that process and it shoots out an answer.
Exactly. And we should keep dehumanizing it like that because it needs to be dehumanized.
Yeah. No, right now it's becoming worse and worse. I thought when we were kids, I kept explaining to my teachers that the computer is not always right.
Oh yeah, and look at it now.
Computer was designed by people, not us necessarily, but by people who are imperfect, who put it together, and then we're putting stuff into it. This is a giant game of Chinese whispers.
Yeah,
It's not going to be necessarily correct every time. It can be, but it is not necessarily absolute.
just like Wikipedia isn't correct all the time, just like
No.
our search engines aren't correct all the time, just like, I mean, Jesus Christ, just like the CDC and all these organizations are never correct, basically.
Well, even simple fucking shit. That's why I always try and bring it back to the most simplistic things where it's like,
It's using.
do you think you actually changed your oil properly? Do you think that the place that you took your car to get your oil changed was done properly?
Yeah.
How do you know?
And we have to realize it's using flawed information, like we've been saying this whole time.
Yeah.
Nothing it has is legitimate. It's based on legitimate. It's all based on illegitimate information that's been used to control for centuries. And it's if your foundation's false and shaky, you can't ever come to any real truth. You may be able to get a little hints of it here and there, but so we got to.
Or you can make it look like it's real.
Yeah, exactly. You could give it the authority to just say it's fucking telling the truth, but excuse my language, even though I probably cursed like 20 times already at this point. I don't care. I'm too exhausted.
Fuck YouTube.
I know, but I think that's a good point to wrap it. I gotta work still tonight, man. I gotta work.
All right. Luckily, I don't. I got the next 5 days. So.
You're a real SOB, bro. I'm really jealous. I have to work. I have to work until like 6 in the morning right now.
I had to take 2 days off to get those 5 days. I just worked last night. I was supposed to go back in 2 hours here.
Thank God you don't have to do that.
Yeah, no, I took the vacation days, so I don't have to do the switch all crazy. But I will be on days now. So as far as East Coast time, day shift schedule, I won't be on during the day on the days I work, but at least I'll have like a normal schedule. And
are you off on weekends or no?
I work. It doesn't matter. Days, nights.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll figure.
So it's every other weekend, no matter what.
That's fine. That's cool. We'll figure something out then on one of the weekends you're off, and we'll do another one. We'll get Silas back on here. We'll get some other people back on here. Yeah. I have
and I'll have days off and all that kind of stuff. I'm just saying, like being on day shift schedule on my days off too, I'll also be a little more normalized.
Oh, that's awesome then. Yeah.
Normally I've been sleeping all day, right?
See, I've been like doing the same thing, but at least my time is a little different out here. So sometimes it matches up with all y'all out in the East Coast or doing East Coast time, but Right, it's going to be crazy for me this week because right now I'm probably going to be up till 8, 9 in the morning again, like I was yesterday. So I won't wake up tomorrow until afternoon, which sucks. I hate
what I've been doing.
Yeah, I hate it. I hate it.
We're doing 4-month rotations, so I've been 4 months on nights. Now I'm going to days this week.
We'll make
It's
it's not fun
too, but
it's not fun. None of it's fun. None of us want to do this shit that we're doing, but we don't have a choice. Hopefully things get better. Silas is back in the room. He's back in the room right now. I'm going to bring him in just to tell him, what are you doing here, Silas? We're getting off.
Sorry, I actually just good timing because I just parked up there. I was actually driving.
I just saw you because we were just
better
about
connection now.
Yeah, I was just going to say with synthetic, that relates to the moon. That's the reason for that. That's why they're changing everything to the sun.
That makes sense.
Same with the Chinese and the
like synagogue and whatnot, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's it.
Damn, man! I was just telling them I gotta wrap it up because I gotta go work now.
That's all right, man.
I'm still up for talking, Silas. That's what we can switch over to Discord.
Give me 2 seconds. I'm just gonna head in the door.
Well, I want to go to the loo and do some things too, so we can.
All right, right.
All right, let's all
head over there in like 15 minutes or so.
Yeah, and let's all catch up on a regular another live stream soon when Silas can join us, and we'll all do another one.
Well, that's what I got this whole week, Monday through Friday. I mean, there's little things I got to do, but
Usually
I'm very available.
with
I'm
me,
good for Mondays now, so.
see, I'm good like Tuesdays, Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays usually. So
Okay.
let me know. I got this app for a month, so we could use mine if we want to use it, and I could send you guys the streams too. So,
Nice.
but all right, guys, you guys have a good night. I'm gonna go work now for the next 3, 4, 5 hours probably, and then kill myself. Just kidding. Just kidding, YouTube. Just kidding. Bots. Do not. I don't want a goddamn banner ad. I'm just gonna go to sleep after that. I should not have said that. I'm so stupid. I forget how sensitive
Cut that
YouTube
part
is.
out.
I can't. It's a live
I
stream.
know.
Just say unalive yourself.
Yeah, I don't plan on doing it. I plan on sleeping very well tonight, and then getting up tomorrow and doing the same thing. So, but yeah, guys, I'll talk to y'all later. It was good having y'all on. Silas, thanks for coming back. Regan, great conversation as always. Miss you guys, man. We gotta talk more for sure.
Oh, we will.
All right, y'all.
We will. Have a good one.
We'll catch up soon.
Bye.
Later.